Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Showers and 20 today with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Hit. Car scuffle driving to work? Contact Premier Panel Services, RAA approved crash repairer.
2 men in their 20s will front court today following an assault at the Arndale Shopping Centre. They were part of a trio which allegedly threatened a security officer at the complex late yesterday afternoon. One of the suspects, armed with a knife. Further inquiries at the scene revealed a member of the public were also threatened. The other member of the group, a 24-year-old woman, was taken to hospital to undergo a medical assessment. More than 1,200 serving or former Defence Force personnel have died by suicide between 2001 and 2019. An Australian Institute of Health and Welfare study has broadened its scope, examining those who've served since 1985. Spokeswoman Louise Gates says that did drive up the overall number of deaths, but the long-term trends on risk were relatively steady.
Overall, the total number of confirmed suicide was 1,273, which, while an increase on previous numbers, it must be highlighted that this does not represent an increased risk of suicide.
Anyone in need of support can contact Open Arms on 1800 011 046. Police officers across the country will pause today to pay tribute to their colleagues who've lost their lives in the line of duty. Services are being held in various states and territories, with a national memorial taking place in Canberra this afternoon. Youth climate activists have given a scathing assessment of global efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The group is attending a summit in Italy. Swedish activist Greta Thunberg says the hopes and dreams of the young are drowning in the empty promises of politicians.
This is not about some expensive, politically correct green act of bunny hugging or blah, blah, blah. Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear from our so-called leaders. Words that sound great, but so far has led to no action.
There are calls for drivers to be sensible, with petrol stations being sucked dry across the UK. Driver shortages are causing chaos, with fuel unable to be transported from refineries. Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the situation is easing.
What we have is all sorts of plans in place to make sure that as we go forward into the new year, that we have everything necessary to protect our supply chains and keep things moving. But as I said, what we're seeing now and what we're hearing now from industry is that the situation on the forecourts in our petrol stations is stabilising.
In the US, Gabby Petito's family has held a press conference as the hunt for her fiancé Brian Laundrie continues. They're asking Brian to turn himself in. Petito family attorney Richard Stafford.
Justice for Gabby is that we see justice for her homicide. The FBI has classified her death a homicide. They are the premier agency in the country. They're investigating her death, and we believe through their investigation we will have justice for Gabby.
Now to FIVEaa Sport.
Save up to 15% on selected Asco cooking appliances at Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's good morning to Jace Kemp.
Good morning to you, Mel. The AFL looks set to enforce a no jab, no play policy for next season. AFL boss Gil McLachlan confirmed mandatory vaccinations will likely be introduced for players.
Yeah, if we want to get our lives back and get back to doing things a simpler way and opening up, we need to be vaccinated. We see it as our path out, and that policy will reflect that.
The secret weapon behind Melbourne's drought-breaking premiership is heading back to Adelaide. High-performance guru Darren Burgess has joined the Crows. Burgess says the switch of clubs is for family reasons.
My kids are in Adelaide, so the decision to go back was only made sort of recently. I tried every way possible to not have to go back, but now I'll be leaving and heading back to Adelaide to be with the kids really and be with the Crows.
To cricket, and the Redbacks fixture has been left in limbo due to a COVID outbreak in Queensland. Alex Carey telling Rowie he doesn't know when SA will play next.
Not sure, to be honest, with the little scare up in Queensland. We just have to be on our toes to either prepare to play whenever we get told to, and if you've got to travel, then pack up your gear and go somewhere. But at this stage, pretty uncertain.
And finally, in the Champions League, PSG is leading Manchester City 1-0 and Liverpool is up 3-0 against Porto. And that's the FIVEaa Sport.
Now the FIVEaa forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Showers on a top of 20 today, a shower or two tomorrow and 18. Friday a shower or two and 17. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on FIVEaa.
Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6:06, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday on 5AA Breakfast. We're off to the UK. Vincent McAviney will join us after 6:30. He'll do the British version of Fuel Watch, which right now is being about 4 hours deep in a line to try and get petrol. The crisis is easing, according to the government in Britain, but we'll get Vincent's first-hand account of what's transpiring there. We've got our Best of SA giveaway if you want to get along to the dinner and celebrate a terrific South Australian business. We'll do that just before 7 o'clock today. We'll talk about the reasons behind used cars prices skyrocketing at the moment with Ross Booth, the General Manager of the Vehicle Valuation at redbook.com. After 7 o'clock. We'll go around the courts with Sean Fuster, and Police Commissioner Grant Stevens will join us after 8:30. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. Steady as she goes yesterday for the Transition Committee. Didn't do anything really in the way of transitioning. The magic number now is clearly 80%. That's the point at which the committee, at least, is of the view that we can start really putting the foot to the floor in terms of getting further restrictions lifted. So,
well, the federal government have provided a bit of financial leveraging to get you to put the foot to the floor at 70 and 80% by withdrawing the emergency Commonwealth support for workers and people.
Which is a lot of money.
Oh,
it's about $1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion. They'll say it starts tapering off at 70%, you hit 80%, and you're on your own.
There's been a lot of carrot, but that is a very, very large stick, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, at the very least, it's the withdrawing of the carrot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, the insertion of the carrot into the state economy.
Yeah, exactly right.
That'll be food for thought for a lot of people. But I want to ask a broader question today. Just looking at the story about Arthur's Seat up in the Adelaide Hills, which is the famous landmark from Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, it came to symbolise so much of the damage that was done. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the furor. Seems to be a story a day now involving the Adelaide City Council about the parklands.
Yeah.
That's all coming to a head. Is it possible to get stuff done in South Australia, or is it has it become too easy to get things done? Because I don't want to sound like I'm sitting on the fence so much on this issue that I'm going to get splinters up my bum, but I actually think that there are some parts of the state where organisations like Renewal SA and some of the developers of big projects like the hospital just need to be told, hang on, listen, we're not just going to go shredding all of our heritage to provide housing, to provide important infrastructure, to provide things like, major public hospitals. There seems to be a bit of artlessness about the way a lot of this development is being proposed. And, there's one building in town, every time I drive along West Terrace, I just look at it and I think, that building does not look like it belongs in Adelaide at all. It is that giant, drab, perfectly rectangular, black glass coloured student housing building next to the On the Run on West Terrace near Hindley Street. And I just look at that building and I think, how did that ever get off the ground?
Mm.
It was the one that actually caused quite a lot of damage at the time to the neighbouring mechanics workshop. We did some stuff on the show about it, about all of the overspray and detritus from the building as it was being put up, all there to cash in on currently non-existent overseas students. But I feel like I'm turning into a minor NIMBY on some of these things, Will.
Well, that's deeply concerning. I think the Ash Wednesday memorial is a different debate than development of, say, the car park at the Women's and Children's Hospital, because I think that carries a level of emotional attachment that I think is reasonably understood. I've seen Colin James' picture of the place where the police train their horses in the parklands. I hope there's a prettier picture of that area than that, because I think they'll improve it by putting a car park there, frankly. So it's the bit where...
Well, I'm not sure if that photo actually just shows the location purely of the car park or the general area where the building's going to occur.
I think it's the general area, isn't it? Well, look, I stand corrected, because I've said this. There are beautiful parts of our parkland that would be a crime against humanity and nature to develop. There are other parts that are garbage, and I have no problem. Building stuff in some areas that are unutilised, and they are protected on account of their zone status, not on account of what they offer to anyone.
But that part of the parklands, and I reckon historically the western side of Adelaide's had a raw deal from the parklands, like all of the
maybe that explains my position.
Well, the beautification of the parklands has largely been an eastern suburbs thing.
Of course,
the eastern side,
yeah.
Particularly the closer you get to East Terrace, has been, but they've put a lot of work and thought into making that look sensational over the years. But that part of the western side along Port Road, like around Jubilee Park, that's a really, really good part of the parklands now. But all that area where the horses are kept and where all the old olive trees are planted is a hugely pretty part of the parklands. It's a historic part of the parklands. And part of the issue is if you say, all right, well, that part of it's grass, you'll end up with this sort of backwards sort of creep where okay, these are the nice bits. So what will happen is if you say they're the not so nice bits, you can build on the not so nice bits. There's a danger that the parklands will sort of get hollowed out, and you'll have. You don't care, do you? You just look at me like, have we ever met?
No. There are bits that are useless. Make them pretty then. Okay, go the other way. Spend some money to make. There's parts. I remember doing when we used to do the OBs from the Royal Show, and we'd walk from here to there, and you'd walk through swamp in some parts of the parklands out towards the southern side of the city.
South side.
They were no use to anyone, and they didn't look nice. They were theoretically nice. Now,
so how do you make them nice? What's nice mean? What's your definition of nice?
Well, like what they've done in the north and the east parts. It needs to be green and trees, and there needs to be upkeep and things. Otherwise, I'm all
proper walking tracks and bike
That's
tracks.
Right.
That sort of stuff.
Otherwise, I can't be wedded to the bits that are just they're notionally wonderful, but they're not. And now I'm not familiar with the bit where the horses get trained, except for Colin James's photo. I looked at that and I just went, "Yep, let's put a car park in." I'd much rather you can go and see your sick kids than you know.
See, the thing is, I actually agree with you about there's some other parts of it where I go, well, that would actually make more sense there.
Right. Okay.
But I think it is a genuinely historic part. Like where the old jail was, like it's a really interesting part of the city.
I feel you're radicalising me by you. If you drift slowly towards NIMBYism, what's the opposite of that? A pro-development heartless hack.
That's right. Property council on steroids.
That's exactly right. We're going to become polarised.
Yeah, I know. Well, had to happen eventually.
Exactly right.
First Good Friday football, now this.
13 minutes after 6. 8223 0000 is our number. You can text us in the Telstra Store About Barker text line with your thoughts. We love to read them. We'll get to some news headlines in just a moment.
Feel the grand final fever this Sunday with the Sandful Statewide Super League Grand Final at Adelaide Oval. The Eagles take on Glenelg from 3 p.m. Just who will be crowned premiers? Get the kids, round up your mates, bring the boundary banter and complete your Sandful story for 2021. Don't miss it. The Sandful Statewide Super League Grand Final this Sunday. Tickets from Ticketek. Visit sandful.com.au/finals for more info.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I hate sagging, back-killing, foam-only mattresses. That's why I tested my brand new Sleeping Duck mattress against a 15-ton steamroller to see if its springs really are indestructible. Check it out at mattress-testing.com.
No one likes to wait, especially if you're waiting for something really amazing, like a new Mazda. Lucky, you won't have to wait too long at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Right now, you'll find new stock and demos right across the range, which means there's no compromise. You'll get everything you want and love in your new Mazda. Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
When you need a plumber, you need them right away, as in today. Give Ken a call. Ken Hall Plumbers, your local plumbers since 1983. On time, every time, at a time that suits you. Give Ken a call, 8364 5855.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
15 minutes after 6. Let's get into the news headlines on this Wednesday morning. 4 new COVID infections have been recorded in the community in Brisbane. The number of exposure sites is growing there. Authorities say the next 24 hours will be critical in deciding whether Brisbane will go into lockdown. The NRL ready to move the grand final to Townsville if needed. The timing couldn't be worse on that front.
It's going to be a massive game too.
They've
Good
had
Sydney Derby, Souths versus the Panthers. Maybe they'll move it to Perth.
Well, to prove they can do it. There've been so many near misses in Brisbane, in Queensland generally, which you'd understand. I mean, the proximity to New South Wales.
Yeah.
But
and the size of the population too.
Exactly right. This sort of feels inevitable. Fuel supplies across Britain have virtually dried up due to a truck driver shortage. Since Brexit, many of them have gone back to Europe, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson says simply blaming Brexit is wrong.
Generally, there is a shortage in that profession around the world, and what we want to see is an emphasis on high wage, high skill, high productivity approach to our economy. What I don't think people in this country want to do is fix all our problems with uncontrolled immigration.
I think, have we learnt something about the importance of truckies in the last 18 months?
100%.
Both in Australia and in Europe and around the world.
Oh, I always love that sticker. Truckies carry this country.
Yeah.
That was the sticker. I think the truckies started that in the 1970s. Maybe even longer before that. But that was the bumper sticker. Never before has a bumper sticker been proven so right.
Absolutely. Right around the world. There is an amazing story out of the US overnight. We're going to play a decent chunk of this at 7 o'clock for you so you can hear it in full. But America's top general has been put under cross-examination to assess the chaotic withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan. The evacuation from Kabul is being labelled a logistical success but a strategic failure. Mark Milley has told senators the Taliban is still a terrorist organisation.
And they still have not broken ties with al-Qaeda. I have no illusions who we are dealing with. It remains to be seen whether or not the Taliban can consolidate power or if the country will further fracture into civil war.
Chillingly, he said they're about a year away, that al-Qaeda from being able to strike against the United States. He made the point that he was of the view that 2,500 US troops should have stuck around to help out Afghan soldiers and also just ease the transition a little bit more. But the bit we'll play you after 7 o'clock today is this extraordinary testimony he gives in relation to a book that's come out by Bob Woodward is one of the authors of it, and Robert Costa, where he was in the last days of the Trump presidency when they had the march on the Capitol. In his view, and what he said overnight, Mark Milley, that is, the top US general, was that Chinese intelligence was telling them that the US was preparing to attack China. And so he rang up his Chinese counterpart and said, we've got no plans. Now, the Trump people in the US are saying, well, that's treason. Who are you to ring up a big international rival and say what our military plans are?
So he rang the equivalent Chinese general
and said,
don't worry, we're not doing this.
There's nothing happening. Just relax. We'll play it for you at 7 o'clock because it's extraordinary audio and it gives you that sense of that.
So he's confirmed it, has he?
He's confirmed it.
Because when that Bob Woodward book came out, I was reading the reviews of it, like there's always a bit of consternation about journos making big claims in books, even though it is Bob Woodward, the other half of Woodward and Bernstein, him and Carl Bernstein from the Washington Post, who broke the Watergate story in the 1970s, bringing down Nixon. But it totally had the ring of truth about it.
Oh,
but it's not. How is it? It's not treason. I think it's actually the ultimate act of community mindedness.
That's what he argues.
Averting a sort of Cuban Missile Crisis type scenario.
And he says that, look, he tabled a document today, declassified document of all the calls he'd made to China and his counterpart there over the time, because it's part of the process of, hey, you know what we should do? Avoid going to war. That'd be good. So they had their line of communication there. He said he told some senior Trump officials and Nancy Pelosi that he was making the call before he did. So he says, it's not like I tried to insert myself in the story. I went behind anyone's back. We'll play it for you. It's about a minute and a half of audio at 7 o'clock. It was his opening statement.
Excellent.
It is unbelievable to listen to. A Melbourne bar owner and his friend are set to face a West Australian court after they allegedly entered the lockdown state to attend the grand final. The two men flew to Darwin and then into WA before using fake licences and passes to get in. they face jail time or a $50,000 fine. That's expensive grand final tickets.
I thought they quarantined, though. I thought these are the blokes who the Western Australian Police put out a sort of wanted poster for. Geez, it is interesting. We've got to a point as a society where you go to a football match because you come from a high risk COVID zone. You get the full sort of Ivan Milat sort of have you seen this man poster treatment.
29th of September, being jailed for this. 2 months later, we're being told borders should be open.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it's a reality, does it?
I reckon if I was a D's fan and I was told there's a chance you might go to prison for a month if you go and see Melbourne win their first premiership for 57 years in Perth on a beautiful summer's day with as many crownies as you can drink, I'd go a month.
You'd think about it.
Yeah, you would.
You'd think about it. You wouldn't want to be...
Who am I sharing a cell with, though?
You wouldn't want to be the guy that brought COVID into WA, though, would you?
No, that's true. No, you'd be unpopular.
That would make you decidedly unpopular. The weather today is not going to be particularly popular either, I think. It's been pretty glum this week, a little bit disappointing. Right now, 12.5 degrees outside. 20 is the expected top today, which sounds okay, but up to 10 mils of rain as well. Most likely from the late morning. The chance of a thunderstorm from around that time as well. Won't be particularly windy, but it might be quite wet. Tomorrow, top of 18 with 2 mils of rain. Friday, 17 with maybe just a drizzle. Saturday's actually quite nice, like an oasis. 22 with not really any chance of rain and just light winds. Sunday will be 19, and the long weekend Monday, the public holiday Monday, 17 with 6 mils of rain, which is not going to be particularly great. Tuesday is 19.
Getting a stack of texts on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. One here from Rob. Morning, guys. The so-called transition committee should stand down. They're not reacting to levels of infection. Rather, they're exercising control on our society until a number of vaccines are in our arms. Is that their remit, or does their power come from a response to an emergency, which clearly is not currently our situation with no community infection for some time? Thanks for that, Rob. Elkie, about our parklands discussion, says the parklands are unique. They must not be built on. They're our legacy. With all the concern re the climate, more green space is required. The old RA site should have been returned to parklands. Once lost, our green space will never be restored. Thank you, Elkie. And one here, Peter says, hypothetical, if John Olsen was Premier instead of Marshall, would we have the Crows HQ at Adelaide Oval Memorial Drive? After all, the Adelaide City Council couldn't stop the Oval Hotel.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Stephen Marshall, he's just not the first leader to do this, but... Geez, they run a mile. Anything that looks like it's going to go down with the good burgers of the state seat of Adelaide.
I think the people of Adelaide would vehemently disagree with this, but I think beyond the boundaries of the city, I think South Australia is best served by a state government that doesn't hold the seat of Adelaide.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good call.
23 after 6. We're going to take a short break and talk sport in just a moment.
The new Kia Niro hybrid SUV has landed. It combines a smooth and efficient blend of petrol and electric power without the need for external charging. It's a no-compromise SUV with outstanding fuel economy, low emissions, tons of comfort, and impressive versatility. The new Kia Niro hybrid SUV, available for immediate delivery. Check with your local Kia dealer for details.
Kia, movement that inspires.
This Friday, my friends, is the 10th anniversary of Fruit Chocks Appreciation Day. Get down to Rundle Mall and join in the fun with free face painting and fairy floss, competitions, giveaways, games, music, cake, and of course, loads of Fruit Chocks. Take a snap with a giant Fruit Chock Mall's balls. Meet Adelaide's Lauren and Hayley and say hi to Mr. Fruit Chocks and his mascot friends. Don't miss the fun this Friday. Fruit Chocks Appreciation Day in Rundle Mall.
Living with a constant low-level noise can have serious impacts on sleep and well-being, but the brain can be taught to isolate the noise and ignore it. The Tinnitus Treatment Phone app can help train your mind while you sleep. Developed in Adelaide by ENT specialist Dr. JC Hodge, studies show that 75% of patients hear an improvement in their tinnitus within the first 6 weeks of treatment. Search Tinnitus Treatment in your app store and sleep away tinnitus.
After dark is the best time to use your power.
Bought solar, but fed up with falling feed-in tariffs? Feel like you're doing the right thing, but they keep changing the rules? With Nectar's new Buy Now, Pay Later home battery add-on, you get a fully installed Tier 1 solar battery with 0% interest and no down payment.
Join the solar battery revolution and use your own power after dark.
Join Nectar, that's NECTR at nectarbattery.com.au. Subject to credit and eligibility criteria, T's and C's apply. Visit website for details.
Paris Creek Farms Organic Dairy is based in the beautiful Adelaide Hills, so we love local. And we want to celebrate the South Aussie heroes who go that extra mile to help make our state such a wonderful place to live. Nominate your local community hero for their chance to win $5,000, and you could win $100 just for entering. Purchase any Paris Creek Farms organic milk or yogurt and visit pariscreekfarms.com.au/competition to enter and give back to these legends of our community.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
26 after 6, time to talk sport. Annie Rusyon in the studio with us. Save up to $800 on selected ASCO washer dry packages. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher. Morning to you, Andy.
Good morning. Paris Saint-Germain run out 2-0 winners over Manchester City in the Champions League this morning. The combined value of both squads, 3.2 billion Australian dollars.
It's just ludicrous.
That's like almost the size of the South Australian economy.
It's crazy. You guys know that I love game shows, TV game shows, my favourite genre.
I didn't know that.
One of my favourite genres.
Big Jeopardy guy, Andy.
My favourite game show is
Family Feud?
Well, my favourite game show is the reverse Family Feud, which is Pointless, which I've been speaking to you about before. Anyone who watches the ABC even afternoon would know this show where the key to the game is to get the most obscure correct answer. So let me give you an example. If I said name a world capital city, you might say London.
Yes.
It's not very...
You're not going to win
obscure.
with London.
You might say Sarajevo. It's more obscure than
What
London.
if you said Bellarmapan?
Well, that's very obscure. That would be a good one. But you might say Birmingham, and you'd be wrong. So I've prepared a sports pointless quiz for you guys this morning.
Excellent.
David versus Will. Obviously, I haven't surveyed anyone, so whatever I think is the most obscure correct answer, I'll give you a point. Most points by 6:30 wins. Countries that have a team in this year's Champions League.
Okay.
We'll go first.
Denmark.
And David?
Ukraine.
David gets point. No Danish teams. So 1-0 to...
What happened to FC Midtjylland?
Midtjylland are not in the Champions League.
I'm on Dynamo
in the
Kiev.
Europa League.
Okay.
Any player that was in the Crows 97-98 Premiership team. David, you
They
go
had to
first.
play both.
No. Anyone that played in either game. Most obscure correct answer.
I can't think. I've got a total brain fade. I can only think of really popular ones. Is there a time limit?
You got to win by 6:30.
Nigel Smart.
Nigel Smart, Will.
Aaron Keating.
Will definitely wins
Aaron
that
Keating.
one.
That's going to be like 20 points.
Any person who's won a McGarry medal before the AFL existed, so pre-1990 McGarry medal. Will?
That's obscure. This is a David Penberthy win, all written all over it.
Central District's John
he just
Duckworth.
Yeah, John Duckworth. 2-1 to David. Any nation that's ever competed in a rugby union World Cup?
What's obscure here? In terms of rankings of how good they are, or how big the country is?
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Georgia,
good one.
Okay. Well, the USA.
I'm giving it to David. I think Georgia's more
I think Georgia wins.
than the USA.
I think Georgia's fair.
A golf question. Let's finish off with golf. Anyone who has had an acting credit in either the movie Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Can you say it if you don't know their name?
No.
Okay. Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore. Anyone who's had an acting credit.
Yep.
So I want to say Bill Murray's brother. I can't remember his name.
Will?
Carl Weathers?
Look, seeing as it's 6:30, I'll give it to Will. But David wins the pointless quiz for this morning, 3-2.
I thought Aaron Keating. I thought you were going to blow me out of the water with that.
Good stuff, Andy.
The McGarry medal question was a freebie for me.
Yeah, I thought the Champions League one was a freebie for Willie, the football manager guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Overcomplicated it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
totally
mate.
regret
I
my
love
decision
it.
on
We
that
do
one.
that every day. I like that.
Save up to 15% on selected ASCO cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Showers and 20 today with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Peak hour hit too hard? For an RAA-approved crash repair, contact Premier Panel Services.
An incident at a Western Suburb shopping centre is under investigation. It's alleged 2 men and a woman threatened a security officer just after 4:30 yesterday afternoon at Arndale. One of the suspects was armed with a knife. A member of the public was also threatened. The males, aged 25 and 26, have been charged and will front court today. A 24-year-old woman was taken to hospital to be medically assessed. The RAA wants drivers to take a basic road safety quiz when they renew their licence. The new policy is part of its submission to the state government's 2031 Road Safety Strategy. Road Safety Manager Charles Mountain says it would be a good opportunity for people to refresh their knowledge.
The whole end point behind this was to provide people an opportunity to test their current level of knowledge, but most importantly, obviously, a key part of this is then to tell people where they've gone wrong. It's about an opportunity to test your level of skills, and where you make mistakes, the test ideally would advise you what the correct answer is so you'd move on from that.
An infectious diseases expert warns Brisbane will lock down if more COVID cases emerge in the community. Of the 4 new infections, an unvaccinated truck driver who was infectious in the community for 8 days is of most concern. Dr Paul Griffin has told Today shutting down is a very real possibility.
I think if we saw any more transmission basically arising from any of these cases, I really wouldn't be surprised if the next step is a lockdown. Hopefully a short one as we get on top of things, but I think we're pretty close at the moment, so I really need to watch closely the next few days.
COVID disaster payments will end once states and territories reach a full vaccination rate of 80%. Nine's Michael Packey reports.
Since June, the federal government has spent $9 billion on COVID disaster payments. They've been given to people who've lost around 20 hours of work as a result of lockdowns, mainly in New South Wales, Victoria and the ACT. The federal government will tighten eligibility for the payment when a state or territory hits a full vaccination rate of 70%. Once the 80 target kicks in, the benefit, currently worth up to $750 a week, will be reduced and end after a fortnight. Those still unable to find work will be supported by Social Security.
Optus is refunding businesses almost $800,000 following a billing error. An ACMA investigation found the telco charged customers for landline services they didn't receive. Authority member Fiona Cameron says they continued to bill businesses even after they transferred to other providers.
This occurred over a 10-year period from 2011 to 2021, and this in itself is concerning that it happened for such a sustained period of time. Optus self-reported and have to date repaid 98% of the charges plus interest, which is a good thing.
Daniel Craig has walked the red carpet in London at the world premiere of his final Bond film, No Time to Die. The movie's release has been delayed several times due to the pandemic. Speaking on the red carpet, Craig says the film acknowledges the Me Too movement.
Bond movies have always reflected the politics of the time, the style of the time, music, whatever it is, and we wouldn't, of course it's crept in because that's the way we write these things. But nothing's been done too deliberately, I hope.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $800 on selected ASCO washer dryer packages. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr. Dishwasher.
And it's over to Jace Kemp.
Thank you, Mel. Premiership fitness guru Darren Burgess is heading to West Lakes. Melbourne's high-performance boss has decided to return to Adelaide for family reasons after achieving the ultimate success with the Demons.
It makes it a whole lot easier. That's what we came here to do, myself and Goody, and one of my best mates, Greg Stafford, sort of got me here as well, and so it's just awesome that we're able to leave on this sort of note.
Still on footy, the AFL is set to enforce a mandatory vaccination policy for players next season. AFL boss Gil McLachlan says it's a path out of current lockdowns. The NRL is pushing ahead with Sunday's grand final in Brisbane despite new COVID cases emerging, while in the Champions League, Lionel Messi has scored his first goal for PSG in their 2-0 win over Manchester City.
It's Messi, 2-0 to PSG, and a first in the blue of PSG for Lionel Messi. and what a goal it was.
And finally on tennis, Aussie John Millman has moved into the second round of the Sofia Open in Bulgaria, while US Open winner Emma Raducanu has been handed a wildcard entry for Indian Wells. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Heading for a top of 20 today with showers. A shower or two tomorrow, 18. Friday, a shower or two, 17. Right now, it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
24 minutes to 7. Best of SA coming up before 7 o'clock. Police and weather shortly. Then after 7, we'll talk about the sudden spike in the price of used cars. What's the reason? What are the most popular? What are the tricks you can use to make sure you maximise the price? How do you avoid getting scammed like so many people who are or almost are like you were just a week or two ago?
I'm going to read those emails out. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
I've kept all the emails.
It's really interesting.
I should probably pass them on to the cops.
Yeah, well, I wonder if do we even know the person, were they based in Australia? You just
They're
don't
based
know,
in
do
the
you?
Northern Territory.
Well, so they say.
Well, they're based off the Northern Territory on an oil rig, which is
Apparently.
why they couldn't ring me or show me a picture of the car.
No one's ever used the phone on an oil rig.
And they're on an oil rig. They've got email access, but they just can't use the phone. How does that work?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
23 minutes to 7. Let's head off to the UK. Vincent McAviney is our London correspondent and joins us now. Vincent, good morning to you, mate.
Good morning.
You've got a full tank of petrol, Vincent?
Yeah, well, I had to drive. I'm actually up north in Manchester at the moment. I'm working up here for a few days. And I had a bit of a battle on Sunday. I had to go to 3 separate petrol stations in London. The third one, I waited about half an hour to get filled up. And then I've been driving. I've been in Bradford yesterday, in Chester today, and pretty much every station I go by is now closed because they don't have fuel, even though there is enough fuel in the country. We've just got this massive driver shortage, and it triggered a panic buy over the weekend. So it has been a bit of a ridiculous few days here.
So what brought it all about? How did Britain get to this point?
Well, it is a perfect storm. There was already a lot of drivers from Brexit, European drivers unable to work here anymore, some of them just not wanting to work here anymore because of the delays at the borders. You also had lots of drivers retiring due to a tax change in the pandemic. And in the pandemic, the DVLA, which is responsible for approving the licenses for drivers and also doing the testing, well, that organisation basically got completely swamped by the pandemic. There's now a massive backlog of tens of thousands of forms to be renewed. And so we are at about 100,000 drivers short here in the UK. Now, this is something that is being seen across Europe. Poland has 150,000 drivers short, France 75,000. And I've actually spent yesterday with a haulage company and Friday with a haulage company talking to drivers in the big 18-wheelers, driving around with them. And they say it's very hard now to get young people into trade because they don't want the same lifestyle drivers had in the past where they're having to drive across the country, sleep in their cabs, eat in their cabs, poor facilities. The vans are getting increasingly attacked by organised crime gangs. And people now will just take jobs as drivers where they can do food delivery like Ocado, do Amazon delivery, and they can get home every night. And there's an expectation with the younger generation that you see your family, you see your kids, and people just aren't wanting to do that long-haul driving anymore.
Some reports yesterday, Vincent, that the Army might be called in to smooth out the process. Any further news on that?
Yeah, there's about 75 Army drivers who are on standby and that's needed, and 75 more in reserve. There are some issues, though, drivers tell me, with the procedures for refuelling at stations themselves, that they will need assistance to do that. The government at the moment is a little bit hokey-cokey on this one. So Sunday night, they started briefing this out as a possibility to try and level off the kind of panic that was going on. Then on Monday, they pulled back from that. But last night, again, they started saying, actually, we might do this. They're worried, though, that if they do deploy, and those photographs are seen of Army drivers at petrol stations, that'll trigger another wave. Actually, it started to calm down slightly, but, there is just a lot of idiocy. Yesterday, I was at one petrol station in the afternoon doing live TV, and in the space of about 4 or 5 hours, the station was very clearly out of petrol. There were signs showing it. There were cones around, and there was these yellow caps on all the pumps. staying empty. And I saw over 50 people in that period just driving in, lifting the caps off the petrol pumps, trying to put petrol in, just not really accepting or understanding that this is the situation that the country's in.
That is pretty weird, isn't it? You'd think if a petrol station had petrol and had customers who were willing to pay, they'd actually let people pump the petrol out. Bizarre.
Yeah.
Extraordinary stuff in an extraordinary year. Good on you, Vincent. Vincent McAviney, our UK correspondent. It is the petrol version of toilet paper, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. It's how do you... See, the response can't be seen to be too dramatic because it'll trigger an emotional response in people that'll continue the cycle of, well, clearly there is something wrong. They've called in the army.
Yeah.
I really better go fill up.
Yeah.
There was a good graph this morning, Sky News UK had about the amount of petrol in petrol stations. Apparently they only hold about 40, usually they have 40% of their tanks full of petrol. They only had up to 40% full. That's just economically works out best for them. And none of that really changed in the lead up to this. What spiked was demand suddenly, out of reports that there were a lack of drivers, petrol was going to be harder to get, so it was a customer driven demand crisis.
Yeah,
with the trigger being reports that fuel was going to be harder to transport around the country.
It does show you how so much of what makes capitalist societies work is based on collective self-confidence.
Absolutely.
I remember talking to Robert Holmes à Court's son, Peter Holmes à Court, during the GFC, and he had a whole bunch of cashed up mates who were like working as day traders and that in New York. And he said that one of his friends said that the entire global economy was like one faulty ATM on Wall Street away from collapse. Like if someone had gone to withdraw money from a bank account and there was no money in it, it's the kind of symbolic thing that could trigger this sort of butterfly flaps its wings in China and tsunami happens on the other side of the world reaction.
Absolutely. 18 minutes to 7 o'clock, and it's time to check traffic for the first time this morning, thanks to Glenelg BMW. They're now open on Brighton Road. Drop in and see Adelaide's newest home for BMW.
Good morning. At Trinity Gardens, got maintenance works on Port Rice Road at McGill Road. Speeds are reduced there. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway, causing delays at Port Wakefield Road to Eldersmith Road. Crayfor's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for works. Speeds reduced. And Northfield expect delays today. Green Junction Road at Hampstead Road for works. Got cameras today. Bartley Terrace, Westlake Shore, Bundy's Road, North Adelaide, and Mercy Road at Osborne. What's better than one sausage roll? How about two? Head into OTR for 2 sausage rolls for $5. Yes, 2 for only $5. OTR, making life easy. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Scam alert. If your phone has been getting dodgy looking texts, do not hit that link. Statistics show these scams have cost Australians over $70 million so far this year. A lot of these scams target people over the age of 65. So what do? Choose a comprehensive and reputable internet security software package that also covers your devices. Trend Micro Device Security protects all forms of devices. It stops viruses, malware, ransomware and spyware attacks. It also identifies dangerous messages on your device. Harvey Norman has a great deal on Trend Micro. Tell a Harvey Norman staff member the Adelaide Tech Guy sent you in and receive 2 years of Trend Internet Security for the price of 1 year.
Check out these great offers at 5AA.com.au. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
AAMI has always helped Australians get back on the road, but now more than ever, it's vital those on the front line get to where they need to be. That's why we're offering free roadside assist to first responders, hospital staff and COVID healthcare workers Australia-wide until the end of the year. AAMI and non-AAMI customers, supporting those who are supporting us. To take advantage of this offer, visit aami.com.au. T's and C's and eligibility criteria apply for AAMI temporary roadside assist and this offer. Go to aami.com.au for more details.
Can you feel it, Australia? That's positive energy, and we're investing in more of it. From a new clean hydrogen industry to seaweed for livestock feed to green steel, a superhero. Sorry, what? Oh, a super eco-friendly way of producing steel. Okay, got it. We're directing billions into clean technologies because we know what we do today will define how we live tomorrow. Australia's making positive energy. Find out more at positiveenergy.gov.au. Green Steel, what a name. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
When you need a plumber, you need them right away. As in today. Give Ken a call. Ken Hall Plumbers, your local plumbers since 1983. On time, every time, at a time that suits you. Give Ken a call, 8364 5855.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
15 minutes to 7, time to check in with SAPOL. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson's on the line. Morning to you, Kylie.
Good morning.
Now, a 14-year-old boy will face court today on driving charges.
That's right, and this job shows you there's a reason why you don't have your licence at 14. So just after 11:50 last night, police and emergency services were called to Port Road at Port Wollonga after reports that a car had crashed into a tree. Thankfully, the driver and 2 teenage passengers in the car were not injured. Checks revealed the driver of the car, who was only 14, was unlicensed. He was charged with failing to truly answer and driving without a licence. He's been bailed to appear in court in December. So, yeah, obviously, you know, the age of 14, you don't know how to drive a car, and showed that last night, that's for sure.
Do you know, do police know whether the car was stolen, Kylie, or is this kid in massive trouble with his old man? He hasn't, like, pinched the family car during school holidays and tried to take his mates for a spin to impress them, has he?
It's not stolen.
Oh, no,
Your story
option
sounds
2.
good.
Oh, no. Deary me. Ferris Bueller's day off. My God, what a story.
Let's hope he's in trouble anyway.
Well, that's actually a very, very good point.
Yeah.
And look, always a sombre occasion today, Kylie, for those of you who put your lives on the line protecting the rest of us. Police Remembrance Day.
That's right. So today is National Police Remembrance Day, and it is an opportunity to acknowledge the dangers of the policing profession, and I guess to reflect on sacrifices made by dedicated officers, and also focus on the challenges that lie ahead. So it's commemorated annually on the 29th of September in memory of police officers killed in the performance of their duty, and SA Police will be remembering 61 fallen officers, and we remember them and acknowledge the impact on their family and friends as well. So in a mark of respect, there'll also be a number of venues across the city lit up in blue and white tonight. They'll include Adelaide Oval, the Ra, Burnside Village, Parliament House, the Entertainment Centre and a few more. So it's really nice that that can be done. And, yeah, it is a bit of a sombre day, and I guess it's the day that you do reflect on your job and, you know, that we are lucky that, you know, we have jobs, but it is a hard job sometimes.
Yeah, for sure
absolutely.
it is. Yeah, good on you, Kylie.
Senior Constable Kylie Simpson from SAPOL. Let's talk weather. Vince Rowlands is on duty at the Weather Bureau. Morning, Vince.
Morning, guys.
So Wednesdays looks like it's going to be a pretty rainy day for us.
Yeah, look, could turn out that way. We are expecting some shower and thunderstorm activity to develop probably from late morning, so more likely in the afternoon. But, yeah, with the convective nature of the showers and thunderstorms, it could be a little bit hit and miss as to where we get most of those falls. So hence we've got a fairly broad range on the rainfall totals today. So we've got, top of 20 with some showers developing and a range of 2 to 10 millimetres on the rainfall guidance. So, if you do get thunderstorm, more likely to be towards that top end of the range and, a bit less if you don't see any thunderstorms and just some shower activity. So that's, what we're expecting this afternoon. But as we head into tomorrow, just a touch cooler and still expecting a little bit of shower activity around. Not as much in it, maybe up to a couple of millimetres, but, just the odd shower around. And that continues mainly during Friday morning. Looks like the afternoon shouldn't be too bad. And as we go through Friday afternoon into Saturday, conditions not looking too bad. Saturday's certainly looking like the pick of the week with a top of 22 and fine conditions, but pretty short-lived as we head into Sunday. Another system moving across from the west, so we'll see temperatures drop down to 19. A return to some shower activity up to a few millimetres, and then Monday looks pretty wet at this stage, up to about 6 millimetres with a top of 17, and then starting to ease off on Tuesday. So, a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity today. Just the odd shower around for the next couple of days, but certainly if you you're looking to head out on the weekend, Saturday's certainly the pick of the days.
Good stuff, Vince. Fantastic.
Thank you, Vince. Senior forecaster Vince Rowlands at the Weather Bureau. 10 minutes to 7. Our number is 8223 You can text us on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line 044808 1395. Your chance to win tickets to the Best of SA Gala event coming up in just a moment, and also some fantastic prizes from a terrific South Australian company.
Eye health on healthy living, thanks to Specsavers.
Cam Kabiri from Specsavers.
Retinal detachment occurs when the retina, which is the seeing layer at the back of the eye, detaches from the rest of the eye. Now, generally, if that's picked up quick enough and if where it's occurred is not too central, that can be treated with a number of different conditions, including laser treatment or cryotherapy. Unfortunately, if it's not a really bad one, or if it's not treated early enough, or there's some other complications, you can get permanent scarring that occurs at the retina. And the problem with the retina is once it's scarred or once it's damaged, unfortunately, you can't really do much about it. So besides the development of a bionic eye or some kind of new retinal advance, there's unfortunately not much that can be done.
Specsavers, where every eye test includes an OCT advanced 3D eye scan at no extra charge.
Did you hear FIVEaa is looking to fill 1,500 jobs across South Australia for this year's grain harvest? With no experience necessary, these positions are perfect for people looking for short-term employment, including students and retirees. It's great pay and you will receive full on-the-job training. And you'll have great fun along the way. For more information on the range of jobs available between October and January, check out viterra.com.au. FIVEaa, 1,500 jobs, 1,500 reasons.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Eight minutes to 7. Best of SA is an event we put on each and every year on 5AA to celebrate and profile some of the great brands in our state. Today, we're celebrating, well, just in time for the long weekend, Dave Benson Caravans. Now,
yes.
You can jump on the Facebook live stream right now to watch Jane Riley, who caught up with Brett from Dave Benson.
Hi, Jane Riley here, celebrating 5AA's Best of SA. I'm at Dave Benson Caravans at 64 Grand Junction Road. How good is this? Just take a look around. On display, more than 100 vans and campers, and they always have that number on display. I'm going to catch up with the GM, Brett March, and find out more. Brett, this is impressive. How many vans and campers do you have on site?
Generally, I always keep around 100 caravans and campers here on site under this roof. Lots to see.
People are travelling more within South Australia and doing it with a caravan is a great way to see our great state.
It is, because it's just simple. Look out your front door, there's your caravan parked out the front, hook it up to your car and go anywhere in Australia.
With COVID, how have things been for your business?
Well, with COVID, what it's done is guaranteed the future market. I wouldn't say we're doing more, but it's a guaranteed market. We're selling into the future. But what it has done with society is we're cultured to seeing more of our big, beautiful Australia.
What about manufacturing them? Because, you know, are you relying on them being made here in Australia now?
Yeah, so predominantly 99% of what we sell here is all Australian made.
Fantastic, isn't that great?
That's right.
You must feel really proud to make something so beautiful, to sell something so beautiful that's made here in Australia.
Built by Australians for Australians.
What trends do you see going forward?
The trends I see going forward is this market is unstoppable. It's just growing. It's a new culture that Australians have seen, and I feel get on board because this is a great way to do a holiday.
Good on you, Brett. Cheers to the future.
Cheers.
Thanks for being part of Best of SA.
2 portable camping chairs plus 2 tickets to our Best of SA dinner on the 14th of October. It's a Thursday night at the Adelaide Oval. Call in right now on 8223 0055. See Dave Benson Caravans for the largest range of new and used caravans and camper trailers in Australia.
We started the show by having a discussion around what I certainly see, and I think Will sees too, as the understandable alarm about the possibility of development at Arthur's Seat. up in the Mount Lofty ranges, which has become a symbol of an unofficial memorial of those who perished and whose lives were affected through the loss of property and treasured possessions in the 1983 Ash Wednesday bushfires. Sandy Wilkinson is a heritage consultant and the director of Alexander Wilkinson Design, and he's on the line now. Sandy, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, good morning.
Give us a bit of a sense about Arthur's Seat. What was it in the first place?
Well, it was a private residence, and there was a very early cottage on the site, and then there's a substantial residence built in 1875 on the site, and it was, where one of Adelaide's early gentry lived.
Yeah. So it was sort of like sort of Lord of the Manor up there, high on the hill. So it was obviously
we had the governor's residence over the hill.
Yeah,
which has just been restored.
So a lot of people do associate it with what happened back in 1983. How have we got to a point where it's even considered for sale?
I don't know, and I'm not sure, if it's really going to realise anything of much benefit to the state government anyway. It would be small beer in terms of what they would gain from it. I think what would make more sense is to apportion some of that site to Cleland National Park, which is right next to it.
Yeah.
I've seen other. There's always a risk that if it were restored, because it's at the top of the hill with the fire, with the trees there, it could just burn down again if it were restored. There's a danger there. Although it would be lovely to see it restored as just one private residence, not to have some cookie cutter subdivision hemmed in all around it, which would be an absolute travesty.
So, Sandy, you mentioned the model of apportioning it off to the conservation park. What are the mechanisms by which the state government could be persuaded to save the site if they could be convinced that it had enough historical significance to keep there?
Well, it's already a state heritage item, so its historical significance is not in question, and it's surrounded by native vegetation, which is synonymous with Cleland National Park. So it makes sense to just integrate it with that.
So if it's already heritage listed, or its heritage is at least acknowledged, does that mean it couldn't actually be knocked over? It would have to be built around or incorporated into any development that happens on the site?
It's state heritage listed, so it couldn't be demolished. Mind you, so too was the Waite Gatehouse, and the government seemed to found a way to move that out the way when it became inconvenient. So, but if it's a state heritage item, it can't be demolished. But my concern is that if subdivisions were allowed around it, it could ruin its setting. And I've seen Mount Brecon down at Victor Harbour, which is also a state heritage item, and despite it being state heritage listed, has had a subdivision in its front setback. Subdivisions failed. It was about 2017, but you can see all these benching and survey pegs in front of the mansion there.
Yeah, right.
And Escort House down at Tennyson has also been subdivided within an inch of its life, despite being state heritage listed. So I'm not that confident that the State Heritage Branch would say no when they need to spoiling the setting, because it's failed to with Mount Brecon and Escort House, in my view.
Yeah. Good stuff. Sandy Wilkinson, heritage consultant, thanks for joining us this morning. If you live up in the hills, or if you've got any sort of emotional connection or familial connection to Arthur's Seat, give us a bell on 8223 0000. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Rebecca from Mile End has won the prize of a couple of portable camping chairs and 2 tickets to our Best of SA dinner, Thursday the 14th of October at Adelaide Oval, thanks to Dave Benson Caravans. See the team for the largest range of new and used caravans and camper trailers in Australia. It's about 20 seconds away from the 7 o'clock news. Mel Usher in just a moment. Then after 7 today, we'll talk the spike in the price of used cars, and we'll go around the courts with Sean Fuster.
online, on DAB digital radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Showers and 20 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Hit. Car scuffle driving to work? Contact Premier Panel Services, RAA approved crash repairer.
A 14-year-old boy has crashed a car during a joyride south of the city. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says they were called to Port Wollonga shortly before midnight after the Corolla went into a tree.
Thankfully, the driver and 2 teenage passengers in the car were not injured. Checks revealed the driver of the car, who was only 14, was unlicensed. He was charged with failing to truly answer and driving without a licence. He's been bailed to appear in court in December.
3 people have been arrested following a shopping centre assault at Kilkenny. It's alleged the trio threatened a security officer and member of the public yesterday afternoon at Arndale. One of the suspects was armed with a knife. 2 men aged 25 and 26 have been charged with a range of offences, including aggravated assault and carrying an offensive weapon. They'll front court today. About 500,000 households are being urged to complete their census, with the form available online until this Friday afternoon. So far, more than 90% of households have submitted their form. The National Snapshot provides a government and business with the ability to plan for the future. The Australian Bureau of Statistics, Dr David Gruen, says penalties apply for those who don't submit a form.
The census is compulsory. We much prefer not to fine people, but to encourage them to fill it in, because we think a lot of public value can be generated by the census, but ultimately you can be prosecuted and fined up to $222 a day.
There's been a rise in smoking rates across the country during the pandemic, with levels coming in higher in regional and remote areas. Dr Noel Duncan says the increases have occurred across all age groups.
When COVID saw saw across every state that an increase in smoking occurred. Interestingly, with sort of older populations between 55 and 64 and 65 and 74-year-olds increasing smoking, we have seen it decline a little bit, but it's still much higher than what it was pre-COVID.
The United States is a step closer to a COVID vaccine for children aged 5 and older. Nine's Alison Petrowski has more.
Pfizer and BioNTech announced they've submitted their clinical data to the Food and Drug Administration, showing their coronavirus vaccine is safe and effective in children aged 5 to 11. No vaccines are currently authorised for that age bracket, despite American students returning to in-person schooling earlier this month. The companies will submit a formal request for approval in the coming weeks.
Climate campaigners from across the world have gathered in Italy for the Youth for Climate conference. Swedish activist Greta Thunberg says world leaders have spoken words that sound great but have led to no action.
Our hopes and dreams drown in their empty words and promises. Of course, we need constructive dialogue, but they've now had 30 years of blah, 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 and where has that led us?
A Darwin tour guide has found himself a little too close to the action, bitten by a 2-metre crocodile on the Adelaide River. Sean Dealey says he went to grab a bait pole he'd knocked out of his boat when the croc lunged towards him, biting him on the arm.
I just went, what the hell? I lifted my arm up like this, I got a croc hanging off me. Got a bit of a shock when they turned around and saw that. They were all facing forward actually, and then I went, oh Jesus.
Luckily a nurse was on board and bandaged him up until he could make it to Royal Darwin Hospital. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to 15% on selected ASCO cooking appliances at Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Jace Kemp.
Thank you, Mel. High performance guru Darren Burgess is heading to West Lakes. The fitness boss has decided to return to Adelaide for family reasons. Demons defender Christian Salen says the strength and conditioning manager will be a big loss.
It's obviously sad to see Virgil leave, but we've got Selwyn coming in, who's obviously been at the club and worked with Virgil, so we've got full trust in him, and it'll be a pretty smooth transition anyway. So, I don't think too much will change.
To cricket, and Strikers glove man Alex Carey has praised Rashid Khan for returning to the Big Bash next season. Carey telling Rowie he's looking forward to being reunited with the world's top T20 bowler.
I love playing alongside of him. He's always smiling no matter what's going on. He loves his cricket. He loves the fans here. He's very loyal to his teammates, and can't wait to catch up with Rash.
In the Champions League, Lionel Messi has scored his first goal for PSG in their 2-0 win over Manchester City, while Mo Salah has scored a brace in Liverpool's 5-1 victory over Porto.
Salah here with a chance to make it 3, and he doesn't miss chances like that. Liverpool catching Porto on the break.
And finally on tennis, Aussie John Millman has moved into the second round of the Sophia Open. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Is your BMW due for a service? Then book your service today at Glenelg BMW on Brighton Road.
At Mawson Lake's got works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. Trinity Gardens got maintenance works going to slow things up this morning. That's on Portrush Road at McGill Road with speeds reduced. And Crayfor's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for work, speeds reduced in both directions. Busy on the drive-in today, Marion Road, Galway Avenue to Richmond Road, and look out for cameras. Days Road, Ferreton Park, Langman Grove, Felixstowe, and Trimmer Parade at Findon. No time to sort a home loan. ANZ mobile lenders are on hand anytime, anywhere. For a home loan specialist who can work around you, search ANZ mobile lending. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Heading for a top of 20 for your Wednesday with showers. A shower or two tomorrow, 18 and 17 on Friday. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Down the side. Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 7, we're talking used cars in a moment. If you've been on the lookout for one, you may have spotted a trend we're going to talk more about in depth. That is that the price has gone through the roof. It wasn't that long ago. People were saying, it's almost getting to the point you might as well just buy a new car. All but for some very rare circumstances, because new cars were getting cheaper and used cars were expensive. But these right now, it's gotten out of control. So we'll talk more about that in a few minutes' time. Sean Fuster coming up this hour as well. I want to start with what is one of the most extraordinary pieces of testimony I've heard in a long, long time. It comes out of the United States. Top US General Mark Milley and his Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin, they've testified publicly before Senate lawmakers. It's the first time that top military officials have appeared before Congress since the withdrawal of US troops in Afghanistan. So a lot of questions were about the decisions that led to that. But Mark Milley wanted to make a point about addressing reports in a book called Peril. It's by Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. Bob Woodward of Woodward and Bernstein fame, obviously. It details Mark Milley's phone conversations to a nervous Chinese general and his efforts to limit President Trump from potentially ordering a dangerous military strike, or so the Chinese thought. Here's Mark Milley making his opening statement just a few hours ago.
Mr. Chairman, I've served this nation for 42 years. I've spent years in combat, and I've buried a lot of my troops who died while defending this country. My loyalty to this nation, its people, and the Constitution hasn't changed and will never change as long as I have a breath to give. My loyalty is absolute, and I will not turn my back on the fallen. With respect to the Chinese calls, I routinely communicated with my counterpart, General Lee, with the knowledge and coordination of civilian oversight. I am specifically directed to communicate with the Chinese by Department of Defense guidance, the policy dialogue system. These military-to-military communications at the highest level are critical to the security of the United States in order to deconflict military actions, manage crisis, and prevent war between great powers that are armed with the world's most deadliest weapons. The calls on 30 October and 8 January were coordinated before and after with Secretary Esper and Acting Secretary Miller's staffs and the interagency. The specific purpose of the October and January calls were generated by concerning intelligence, which caused us to believe the Chinese were worried about an attack on them by the United States. I am certain that President Trump did not intend to attack the Chinese, and it is my directed responsibility, and it was my directed responsibility by the Secretary to convey that intent to the Chinese.
It's extraordinary to listen to, and it's actually deeply unnerving the degree to which world peace hinges together by people thinking to pick up the phone at certain times and say, hey, we know you think you've got intelligence that we're going to attack. I can tell you it's not the case, and that's how precariously the whole thing is held together. So in the US, because everything is divided down political lines these days, Trump people are saying, well, this guy should be tried for treason I mean, who's he to go behind the president's back and allay the fears of the Chinese? Where he's making the point that, listen, I told everyone what I was doing, and it's part of my charge is to have these conversations regularly.
I think it's becoming apparent how close America actually drifted to a full-blown civil war situation, and the situation was actually saved by really intelligent conservatives with a knowledge of history who were within Trump's circle, who realised the path he was trying to put America on. There's a remarkable account in a great column by Paul Kelly today in The Australian that should give pause to those who think that Trump is some kind of hero. Like, Paul Kelly's hardly a bleeding heart left-winger. But the account of Trump trying to convince his Vice President, Mike Pence, to not announce the election results and to not accept the Electoral College votes from the states like Arizona and Georgia and so forth. And in it, Pence says to Trump, no, I don't see a way to do it. I personally believe there are limits to what I can do. And then Trump just loses his mind and says, no, 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 you don't understand, Mike. You can do this. You've betrayed us. I made you. You were nothing. Your career is over if you do this. And then Trump started tweeting that Mike Pence was about to save the election. And then Trump rang Pence at 10 a.m. on January 6th and said, I'm counting on you to do this. If you don't do it, I picked the wrong man 4 years ago. And then at 1 p.m, Pence releases a letter saying, I do not believe the founders of our country intended to invest the Vice President with the unilateral authority to decide which electoral votes should be counted during the joint session of Congress. So help me God. 6 hours later, they're smashing up the Capitol.
It's amazing, isn't it? Good on Mike Pence. You're right. And to your point about Mark Milley he's hardly a Biden guy. He was a Trump appointee.
Yeah.
He's a conservative. He has embarrassed President Joe Biden massively in the testimony he gave overnight too. He says his view was very much that they should have kept 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. Biden had said previously everyone agreed that they on the total withdrawal. So, you know, a lot is divided along political lines in the United States at the moment, but not what he's got to say.
No.
We've heard a little bit of this in FIVEaa News. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg has spoken at the Youth for Climate conference. Really took aim at Boris Johnson.
This is not about some expensive, politically correct green act of bunny hugging or blah, blah, blah. Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah. Net zero by 2050, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they're all... The bunny hugging, the build back better, the green economy, they're all buzzwords that Boris Johnson's been using recently. That's the Youth for Climate conference that's taking place ahead of the big Edinburgh summit that we're probably not going to be at, and which might not be a bad thing for Scott Morrison because he's going to be deeply unpopular at it in any case. But they've wheeled out Greta. I don't know.
She's 18 now.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg.
I don't know if she's ever won over a single person on the climate debate, frankly. But
well, she sounds so strident, and I think a lot of people just go, come on, you know. I don't know. Like there's that sort of nice, generous-hearted. Isn't it great to see young people having a go? But she just sounds so permanently snide and fired up about everything.
You know what? The feeling is you're never going to get the headline. Greta totally satisfied with country's climate action.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Bigger news in entertainment happening. As we speak, the world premiere for the 25th Bond film is on right now at London's famed Royal Albert Hall.
We make these movies for cinema goers. They're not to be watched on phones. You can, but I wouldn't. And I we've had 18 months of COVID, so everything has to be put into sharp perspective, but we're here, so it's wonderful.
That's Daniel Craig, his final instalment as Bond in the Bond 25th film that's just started there in the UK. It's 6 years since the last instalment, Spectre, in 2015. It's the biggest film premiere in the UK in years, biggest since the coronavirus pandemic, obviously. If you were to go along and be invited, you have to have a negative PCR or rapid COVID-19 test before entering the venue.
So do you get to a certain age as James Bond and then you get pensioned off?
You get retired, yeah.
Because he's never going to be truly old, is he, Bond?
No, there's never going to be elderly Bond.
No, so Daniel Craig shuffles off into the sunset.
And then they get a younger Bond.
Who'll be the next young Bond?
Well, this is just the question, isn't it? In fact...
Who was the best Bond? I think the consensus is it was Sean Connery, isn't it?
If I don't say Sean Connery, my father will never speak to me again.
A lot of the Roger Moore ones were good, though.
See, the first Bonds I ever saw, Roger Moore, and I remember just blithely remarking to him one day how much I love Roger Moore as Bond, and he almost disowned me. I think he almost
You are not
changed
my son.
He almost, because he saw Roger Moore as an affront to the Sean Connery, the really manly Bond.
Yeah.
And this sort of posh.
He wasn't a big manscaper, Sean Connery, was he? It was the golden era of male chest hair.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
We might talk more about the future of Bond a little bit later in the morning. 15 minutes after 7, let's check traffic. Glenelg BMW now open on Brighton Road. Drop in and see Adelaide's newest home for BMW.
At Mawson Lakes, got works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road to Eldersmith Road. Crayford's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for work. Speeds reduced in both directions. And expect a few delays around Northfield today. It's on Grand Junction Road and Hampstead Road. That's for works. It's affecting both directions and speeds reduced down to 40 k's. The Coffee Club is sharing the love in celebration of World Coffee Day. Buy one coffee, get one free now until Friday. In-store, takeaway or delivered at the Coffee Club. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Leon Biner.
In the last 4 weeks, this program has been inundated with calls by South Australians and their loved ones desperately trying to get home. 5,900 travel exemption applications still waiting to be processed.
9 till 12 weekdays.
When these people stuck over the border are weighing up whether to resign from their jobs, something is terribly wrong.
SSA as Leon Biner. SSA as AA.
This Friday, my friends, is the 10th anniversary of Fruit Chocks Appreciation Day. Get down to Rundle Mall and join in the fun with free face painting and fairy floss, competitions, giveaways, games, music, cake, and of course, loads of Fruit Chocks. Take a snap with a giant Fruit Chock Mall's balls. Meet Adelaide's Lauren and Hayley and say hi to Mr. Fruit Chocks and his mascot friends. Don't miss the fun this Friday. Fruit Chocks Appreciation Day in Rundle Mall.
The music of your life over 6 magical nights under the stars is coming. Festival of Orchestra will light up the sky and dazzle you. Showcasing Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, the epic Camina Burana. Dance music classics with Ministry of Sound. A rock spectacular with Aussie legends The Angels. An immersive experience with BBC Blue Planet 2 live. Cannons will thunder, fireworks will amaze. Festival of Orchestra, November 24 till December 4, Adelaide Showground. Book at aso.com.au.
It may not be that exciting to learn that Playford Pavers are one of the few companies that still make their own pavers on site. Riveting, isn't it? But what if I told you that because Playford Pavers make their own pavers for driveways, entertaining areas and pathways, you pay a lot less? How good is that? Pay less at Playford Pavers. Visit playfordpavers.com.au.
As an iconic Australian real estate brand, at LJ Hooker we deliver exceptional experiences. And here in South Australia, to maintain our reputation of high-performing agents, we provide industry-leading training. So when you know you need better advice, when you know you need better service, when you know you need better results, you know who you can trust. LJ Hooker. When you know, you know. Visit ljhooker.com.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
9 minutes after 7. Intriguing story doing the rounds yesterday regarding the price of used cars. Whole sorts of issues feeding into this. Supply of new vehicles. The nature of purchasing habits in the pandemic. A whole host of things. We just wanted to get some insight on it from Ross Booth, the GM of Vehicle Valuation at redbook.com.au. Ross, good morning to you, mate. To what do you owe the increase in price in used vehicles at the moment?
The thing happening with used cars at the moment, it's since COVID hit last year, 2 things are happening. There's been a shift in demand to more people wanting used cars, but also a supply shortage of new vehicles.
I was talking to a car dealer the other day, Ross, about Toyota Hiluxes, and they're apparently you can't get a new Hilux locally until April next year, which seems staggering. Is that something that's happening across a whole bunch of different motor car categories?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a global supply shortage of new cars, and fundamentally it's being caused by a computer chip shortage, which is used obviously in electronics, but it's used a lot in new vehicles, in particular in safety items. So due to that global chip shortage, it's actually hard to make vehicles, and if you want one today in Australia, a lot of them you have to order and be many months out, like the Toyota Hilux into next year.
So, Ross, what sort of numbers are we seeing in terms of the increase in price? Is it uniform across all types of used cars?
No, look, it's certainly not uniform because it is being driven by both demand and supply. So some car manufacturers don't have the same supply shortages, so there's more supply of those new cars. And from a used car perspective, the demand is really following the cars that people want to buy today. So that is your SUVs, that is your four-wheel drive ute. So when the demand is higher, they're the ones that the prices have increased on.
The one that I was really surprised by, Ross, was the Suzuki Jimny. Now, that's a car I've always associated with. If you go to Bali for a holiday, they're the little zippy little machines you fang around the island on. These are going for like 50 grand second hand.
Yeah, look, they're an amazing little thing. They brought them back into the Australian market a couple of years ago. And ever since they've brought them back in, there just hasn't been enough of them to support the demand. And COVID has accelerated that even further. So you can get a Suzuki Jimny new for the mid-20s to low 30s. Used car now for a 2 to 3 year old one is in the mid-$40,000.
Wow, that is crazy. Is this resulting in a changed scamming behaviour too, Ross? Because I had a personal encounter with a scammer the other day that was so amateurish it was laughable. But, you know, at a time when people are desperate to get their hands on, and it involved a Hilux, so it seems that people are desperate to get their hands on, and there might be a market built up around that desperation.
Yeah, look, I think that the scammers isn't necessarily associated with the used car market. I just think there's more scammers out there, and you just need to be really careful what websites you're using and what steps you put in place to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Ross, appreciate your time, mate. Thank you. Ross Booth, the GM of Vehicle Valuation at redbook.com.au. Michael over on Kangaroo Island's called in on this. Morning, Michael.
Yeah. How you going, mate?
Good, mate.
Now, he missed a few points that, like I said to the fellow I spoke to before on the phone, I've been working myself now for just over 50 years, believe it or not, and I've seen a lot. But what's happened, you've taken away the manufacturers of Mitsubishi, Ford, Holden in Australia. Everything's fully imported, of course. And, of course, there are delays, as the fellow just said a moment ago. But what happens when a person gets a trade-in price, and this is the point he missed out on, they get a trade-in price, they've got to wait for their car, they might have got 10 grand as a trade-in, and they think, well, hang on, this is worth more, and they advertise it, and they sell it for, say, 13 or 14, they're happy. Then, of course, that takes that vehicle out of the market that would normally be traded in and go to the dealer to put on his car yard. Of course, this drives the price up. The dealer's got to pay more for some cars, and that's where the price of all cars is driven up. It's just a natural process.
Makes sense, Michael. So there's a supply issue for new vehicles, but also it's a compounding factor and creates a supply issue for used cars as well. Appreciate your time. Thanks for calling us, Michael. 8223 0000 our number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. We're going to turn our attention to sport. Really fascinating chat Rowie had with Treaders last night on the sports show. $7 million worth of vehicles to clear during North Point Toyota's used car sale. It's on right now. Spoke about what has been described in some quarters as the biggest acquisition of the off-season. The Crows hiring fitness guru Darren Burgess. Darren Burgess, of course, had some success with the Port Adelaide Football Club. Good mate of Treaders, so he was able to provide some insight.
Yeah, Darren Burgess is a Crow, probably the worst kept secret in the trade. Matty Rendell went on radio this morning and said the trade of the year. You know him well. What are your thoughts?
Oh, he's very good at what he does, and he's a mate of mine, so I'll be honest and say I'm a little bit compromised with it. But like Andrew Russell at Port Adelaide, when he came in 2001, revolutionised what we did to 2004. Then Andrew went off to Hawthorn, moved back to Melbourne with his wife Lee, and Alistair Clarkson poached him at that stage, which we were pretty annoyed at. But we got Darren Burgess in, who'd spent some time at Sydney, also in the NSL soccer A-League. Then we got to a grand final off the back, 07, and everyone knows how that finished, but we got off the back, midway part of the year, we were 8th. We learnt to press. Everyone was one of the original teams that pressed the defence through Choco and Phil Walsh. And the other bit was we were fit enough to do it.
So and you believed it.
Yeah, and when you're super fit, you believe in your hype. And that's exactly the difference in Melbourne. The last 2 years, what have they done? They've started believing what they've got. They've got confidence in their program, whether their fitness, their skill, their game plan, their whole lot. So he is not going to be the fix for Adelaide and go, wow, but what I will tell you is they'll be fitter than they've ever been, and it'll give them the best chance to have success than they've had.
You might quibble about the impact that individual hires or acquisitions can make, but collectively there's a storyline coming out of West Lakes that's better than it's been in a long, long time. From the hiring of Tim Silvers as the CEO, a guy who'd been and run arguably the most successful club over in Melbourne and Hawthorn for the last 15 years, to Darren Burgess now coming in, the fitness guru of in the AFL. There's not too many of these other guys that are household names. Darren Burgess he's done it here in the Premier League and elsewhere, as you just heard Warren Treadray say. Jordan Dawson comes across, a high-profile player acquisition that the Crows haven't been able to make. The story is turned remarkably. The on-field results will come, but I think for the first time in a long time, there is genuine positive buzz around the Adelaide Football Club, and it comes on the back of them hiring the best people in the business.
Other good news story yesterday was that finally the last excruciating chapter of the never-ending camp saga, Safe Work SA, 14 months.
No hurry.
What's the rush? And in hindsight, why did Stephen Marshall even refer it to Safe Work SA? Was that just his way of trying to bat it away, handball it away, or, I don't know, at its most sinister, was it the facetious act of a Port-supporting Premier who thought he might pile on the misery for the Adelaide Football Club? Either way, complete and utter waste of time based on the most absurd example of the rumour mill this city's ever seen. Some of the things that allegedly happened on that camp made the movie The Manchurian Candidate look fantastic.
The what was it? 4 pars? The public report.
Yeah.
Was it 3 words a week? What was the?
Yeah, I know.
What was the work rate on that report?
The Crows are far too polite sometimes. If I was John Olsen, I'd come out and tip a massive bucket on them, but I guess they just don't want to start it up again, do they?
They don't want to. They don't need to, as we say. The narrative's turned. That came from that was at a dark time.
Was it ever?
Yeah, and
it's all in the past now.
Well, I think very much so. All right, it's coming up to 7:30. We're going to take a break. Sean Fuster's in the building. We'll go around the courts in just a moment. But more discussion of the Burgess hire and more speculation as Trade Week starts to heat up with Stephen Rowe. $7 million worth of vehicles to clear during North Point Toyota's used car sale on right now. I don't know why I called it Trade Week. It's been longer than a week for a long time. It's the kind of thing that I pillory others for doing. I just did it. I'm an idiot.
Grab your best mates and get these great rates. Then get ready, save and go to the NT now. With Mates Rates packages, you save up to $1,000 per person on getaways to the Red Centre, including Alice Springs, Uluru, Kings Canyon, Carter Judah, West McDonnell Ranges and more. The Red Centre is wide open and it's ready, save, go to the NT now. With deals from just $3.99 per person. Book now and travel to April 2022. Visit ntnow.com.au.
All eyes will be on the Tab Adelaide Cup, Friday the 8th of October at Angle Park. See Group 1 Greyhound racing with live music, food trucks and kids activities. It's a great night for the whole family. Come along to general admission or book your spot in the new Garden Bar or the famous Chasers restaurant. Tickets are essential, so head to greyhoundracingsa.com.au. Gates open from 5 p.m. with racing from 6. See you at the track. Gamble responsibly.
Here at FIVEaa, we're all about supporting local. Here's who you can support around Adelaide. Buy your tickets in the St John Home and Lifestyle Lottery before midnight Sunday and you could win one of 9 cars next week. stjohnlottery.com.au. Your COVID-19 vaccination is now closer than you think, thanks to your local National Pharmacy store. Book today by visiting nationalpharmacies.com.au. FIVEaa, supporting local business.
The St John Christmas Home and Lifestyle Lottery is back. With 7 homes still to be won, the St John Lottery is South Australia's biggest ever home lottery. Buy your ticket before midnight this Sunday for your chance to win one of 9 cars in next week's draw. Plus, your ticket stays in the draw for the $4 million luxury grand prize package. Buy your tickets at stjohnlottery.com.au and support St John SA today. Licence number M14082.
The legendary reliability of Toro has made it the first choice at many of the world's best sports grounds. Real Madrid and St Andrews. And now you'll find Toro walk power mowers, lithium-powered garden tools and irrigation equipment closer to home at your local Toro dealer. Whether it's above ground or underground, you can count on Toro to get the job done.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Showers and 20 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Peak hour hit too hard? For an RAA-approved crash repair, contact Premier Panel Services.
There's been a joyride involving 3 teens south of the city. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says their adventure came to an end not long before midnight.
So just after 11:50 last night, police and emergency services were called to Port Road at Port Wollonga after reports that a car had crashed into a tree.
The driver and 2 passengers weren't injured. A 14-year-old boy from Croydon Park has been charged and bailed to front court in December. 2 men in their 20s will front court today following an assault at the Arndale shopping centre. They were part of a trio which allegedly threatened a security officer at the complex yesterday afternoon. One of the suspects armed with a knife. Further inquiries at the scene revealed a member of the public was also threatened. The other member of the group, a 24-year-old woman, was taken to hospital to undergo a medical assessment. COVID disaster payments are being wound down as vaccination rates increase. Nine's Michael Packy has more.
For about 3 months, special payments have been made to help individuals who've lost around 20 hours work due to lockdowns. $9 billion has been paid to people in states and territories with declared hotspots. The federal government will phase down the payments once each jurisdiction hits a full vaccination rate of 70%. At this point, people will have to reapply for their $750 benefit each week. Once double doses hit 80%, payments will be reduced and end after a fortnight. Those who can't get back into work will be supported by Social Security.
The consumer watchdog is concerned about Google's monopoly over digital advertising. Nine's Sarah Bora has the story.
An ACCC report has found the tech giant has a hand in about 90% of the ads seen in the local market, which is worth about $3 billion. The Competition and Consumer Commission says Google uses its dominance to preference its own services and protect them from competition. Chairman Rod Sims wants the federal government to provide new regulations to address the issue. Google says it will continue to work collaboratively with industry and regulators to support a healthy ads ecosystem.
There are calls for drivers to be sensible with petrol stations being sucked dry across the UK. Truckie shortages are causing chaos with fuel unable to be transported from refineries. But Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the situation is easing.
What we have is all sorts of plans in place to make sure that as we go forward into the new year, that we have everything necessary to protect our supply chains and keep things moving. But as I said, what we're seeing now and what we're hearing now from industry is that the situation on the forecourts in our petrol stations is stabilising.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $800 on selected Asco washer dryer packages. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's over to Jace Kemp.
Thank you, Mel. The AFL looks set to enforce a no jab, no play policy next season. AFL boss Gil McLachlan confirmed mandatory vaccinations will likely be introduced for players.
Yeah, if we want to get our lives back and get back to doing things a simpler way and opening up, we need to be vaccinated. We see it as our path out, and that policy will reflect that.
The architect behind Melbourne's drought-breaking premiership is heading back to Adelaide. High-performance guru Darren Burgess has joined the Crows. Burgess says the switch of clubs is for family reasons.
My kids are in Adelaide, so the decision to go back was only made sort of recently. I tried every way possible to not have to go back, but now I'll be leaving and heading back to Adelaide to be with the kids really and be with the Crows.
To cricket, and Alyssa Healy has been named Australia's vice-captain for the women's test against India, while Rachel Haynes has been ruled out with a hamstring injury. And finally, Royal Randwick will have up to 5,000 fully vaccinated spectators for the $15 million Everest next month. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Glenelg BMW is now open on Brighton Road. Drop in and see Adelaide's newest home for BMW.
At O'Halloran Hill, got a broken down truck on the Southern Expressway. It's in the left-hand lane as you're heading outbound. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. And Crayfords got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for work. Speeds reduced in both directions. Busy for the driving today. Marion Road, Galway Avenue to Richmond Road with cameras Robe Terrace, North Adelaide. Trimmer Parade, Findon and Bartley's Terrace at Westlake Shore. Glenelg BMW is now open with next day service appointments available. Experience a complete level of BMW service. Visit glenelgbmw.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Showers in a top of 20 today, a shower or two tomorrow down to 18 and dropping to 17 on Friday with a shower or two. Right now it's 15 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
"24 minutes to 8. John Blake coming up before 8, after 8 o'clock today. Police Commissioner Grant Stevens will talk to us about Transition Committee yesterday. We'll also get a sense of what he's learnt from what's come out of the other states as they plot the roadmap out of restrictions. What does it mean when we get to 70, 80%? They've been doing the work behind the scenes in the Transition Committee here in South Australia. We've seen a detailed version of it in New South Wales. We'll talk to him about the next couple of months because you get the feeling whilst they're in a state of stasis somewhat on the committee at the moment, things are going to change very, very soon. Let's go around the court. Sean Fuster is in the studio with us. Crime Stoppers SA and Police Credit Union supporting better communities. crimestopperssa.com.au. Sean, good morning to you.
Morning, gentlemen. And, you know, kicking off with that song, Leave Me Alone, kind of appropriate for where we're going with the segment this morning.
Yeah, this Sean Flintoff guy sounds like a piece of work, allegedly.
Allegedly,
we
yes.
always say allegedly here.
We're talking about Sean Flintoff, who has been arrested and charged with stalking 16 women around Adelaide, mainly around the northern suburbs, women that he met, according to the prosecution, via social media. We're not sure yet whether this is Facebook or Tinder or a dating app or something like that. The allegation alone that he has stalked these women, followed them around, is bad enough. But it goes further because the Adelaide Magistrates Court released the file to me late in the day after he'd been arrested the third time. So it turns out that there is an allegation that he stalked one woman, been released on bail for that. Then a second woman's come forward, and he's been released on bail again for that. Now 14 other women have come forward, making 16 total. So finally they've decided, no mate, you can't have bail, you need to stay inside, because the allegation is that he's continuing to stalk women while he's under bail conditions.
So he's been charged on three separate occasions. First for one woman, second time for another woman, third time for 14 more women, making it 16.
And this goes back. This is one of those cases where women are seeing his name published. This is why we fought so hard to get alleged sexual offenders' names published in the paper. Because these 14 women have come forward because of the stories they've seen about the first two women. You wouldn't have those arrests, you wouldn't have those allegations if the media hadn't been able to get Section 71A changed. So there's a little sideline for you. That's why that was so important to fight for 18 years. But these allegations go back a fair bit of time. And as I saw when the court file was released to me get worse, there's allegations that he's indecently assaulted one of the women, that he's broken into the home of another woman, that he kept detailed handwritten surveillance notes of each of the women and their movements, and that he was stealing their mail.
Far out. I mean, he's obviously innocent until proven guilty, but the fact that so many similar allegations have been made by so many different women totally underscores your point, I think, Sean, that, you know, women out there who are trying to meet guys online or whatever, which is the way of the world these days, need to know that this guy exists.
Oh, and look, and it isn't just women. Like, I've got male friends that are in the current dating scene. I wouldn't do it for quids. You know, I just hear what they go through and then hear what my female friends go through and just think to myself, absolutely awful.
So I'm just trying to get my head around the volume of charges here, or accusations. Was this all happening concurrently?
Apparently so. The times actually overlap, so it looks like he was stalking at least 3 or 4 of the women at the same time.
Oh, and what sort of were these handwritten surveillance notes?
Don't know much more than that at the moment. It's interesting. Handwritten surveillance notes count under state law as prohibited material.
Okay.
So he's been charged with possessing prohibited material, and you peer down a little bit, and what's a prohibited material? Handwritten stalking notes. Reminds me a bit of Jean-Eric Gassi, who of course stalked and then murdered Margaret Tobin. Not saying there's any murder allegations here, but he kept detailed surveillance notes. He even kept a hit list of people on a bus ticket in his pocket. So what Flintoff has allegedly written down and what he's allegedly done with it is going to be fascinating in a really morbid way to hear as the case rolls out.
Disturbing insight into the extent, and this isn't in any way intended to sound like victim shaming or blaming, because it's not, but it is a cautionary tale, I think, about the extent to which people are prepared to divulge public information or to make private information public through social media.
Well, how do we know how much of it they actually made public?
Well, that's true.
Keep in mind, he's been accused of stealing mail as well. Perhaps the women have said, my name is Brenda, and that's as much as she's prepared to give.
Whatever suburb.
And he's gone around and pulled the mail out.
Well, it's
to find
easy
out exactly
these
who she
days,
is.
and, Facebook's something that regularly is used to identify people because they don't change their privacy settings. And
that's the irony. The reason we have photos of Sean Flintoff on AdelaideNow.com.au is because of his Facebook page.
Yeah, that's right.
So turnabout's fair play.
Well, sucked in, I guess.
But not all of it. Not all of it's like
in his case,
frivolous social media-ing. I mean, people will use resources like LinkedIn these days as a way to get work. I don't have one, but I know professional sort of white-collar job people will have it as a way. So you put, out of necessity, you feel like I need that out there to try and further my career and get a job, but also it can be used against you, presumably by people like this.
Well, LinkedIn's a good example because I've seen articles about people who are in their spare time sort of solid middle-class citizens working white-collar jobs, but I've seen women say that they even get cracked onto via things like LinkedIn.
Oh, I don't think...
almost any form of online interaction these days can become sleaze central in the wrong hands.
Well, that's the virtual version of cracking onto somebody at the office, isn't it?
Yeah,
the photocopy it. So that same unwanted harassment that you get within the office, but in a virtual space that's supposedly all about work.
Yeah.
You had a really powerful piece yesterday in the Ties of Sean from Jen Sampson, a survivor of child abuse, who wanted to come out and tell her story. And every time these sorts of things happen, and the people say, I'm going to talk, you just think, God, what must have gone into that decision?
Look, I've been talking to Jen off the record on the quiet for a couple of months now. She actually was a fan of Just Lawful and came to us and said, I want to tell my story. Would you want to tell it? So we've been talking, as I say, for a couple of months about this, and hearing her family background, which you can read about in the article, this is a situation where her abuser, who has admitted his guilt and is going to be going to prison, is her brother-in-law. So this is her stepsister's husband. You imagine how that split the family right down the middle. When I went into court the other day, there's 5 rows in the public gallery. The first 2 rows are Jen and her supporters. The back 2 rows are the brother-in-law and his supporters. And then there's this middle row that's little old me and nobody else sitting there, just in the gulf between these warring family units. When we've been talking about this and when she was saying what was going to happen, I said to her, Jen, look, even as a journalist, I don't know that you should do this. Please think about this very carefully. This has got all sorts of potential consequences. And she came back to me after a couple of weeks, Will, and she said, if I don't put a face to my story, nobody's going to listen to it. I have to do this for the sake of my story being heard. I'm pleased to report that she's had a wonderful outpouring of support. She told me 98% of the responses she's received have been positive. Distant relatives and friends in other states have seen it because the story was picked up by the News Corp group and have contacted her. She feels more supported than she has in years since this all began, which is absolutely wonderful. Shows the power of this. But at the same time, like you say, not everybody can do that. There are all sorts of social, family, political, economic reasons why people can't come out. Think of the Masked Brothers.
Yeah.
2 men who are absolute pillars of the community. They were so worried about this that they decided to mask up so that they could still tell their story, but it wouldn't be connected to their lifestyle and their lives. So brave when people do this, and it speaks for so many other people who can't speak out for very understandable reasons.
In an area where historically people have sort of been cowed into silence by the system and feel like they're powerless.
Like we talked about a minute ago, 71A's only recently been lifted so that we can identify alleged perpetrators. Victims have to willingly surrender their right to privacy in order to speak. You have to actually write it down and say, I consent to being identified. Huge moment to actually sit there and think about, I'm signing away my privacy and my ability to walk, without any sort of looking or any sort of peering or judgment. Jen is a frontline COVID worker. And so she is someone who is giving back every single day to South Australia to make this place better. I think it's great that 98% of people have now come to support her in this moment while she's shown another level to her bravery.
Yeah. Someone whose story we've become very familiar with here at 5AA and around South Australia is that of Arman. You've had, now this will be the final instalment of your series of interviews with him on Just Lawful coming up this Sunday.
That's right. Look, I honestly believe this is the most in-depth and comprehensive interview Arman's ever given. Spread over 3 episodes. The things that he's told us already have been incredible. This week we move into the question that everyone's been asking me since this series started. Does Arman still speak to his father? And if he does, what do they say to each other? So we actually talked to him about that because Arman is himself a husband and a father now. How do you take everything that you've been through and seen in your life as a son and apply that to what sort of father and husband you're going to become? It's incredible. We also talked to his wife Genevieve about, we get her to give a bit of a report card. What is Arman like as a father and a husband, having been through all this? It's really interesting.
He'll get a pretty good mark. I think he'll be all right.
I would have thought. Good on you, Sean.
Good on you, Sean.
Thanks,
Thank you, mate.
Sean Fuster joins us thanks to Crime Stoppers SA and Police Credit Union. Let's check traffic. Is your BMW due for a service? Well, then book your service today. Glenelg BMW on Brighton Road.
Out of Halloran Hill, got a broken down truck on the Southern Expressway. It's in the left-hand lane as you're heading outbound. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. At Northfield, expect delays Grand Junction Road at Hampstead Road for works affecting both directions. Busy on the drive-in today, Main North Road, Clayson Road to McIntyre Road, with cameras Old Port Road, Queenstown and Robe Terrace at North Adelaide. Whatever the industry, whatever the workwear, Totally Workwear can help. For workwear for tradies through to uniforms for nurses, head to Totally Workwear, Australia's largest workwear supplier. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
You might get a call one day. Someone from one of the smartest new industries in the world. They're highly trained. They say they're ready to help you with online purchases, tax payments, or even banking. They're scammers. They catch so many of us off guard. If it really is your bank, they'll never ask for your bank account details by text or email, and they'll never threaten to immediately cancel your account or arrest you. If they do, stop and think, then just delete or hang up. Australia's banks are here to protect you.
SportsMed provides patients with state-of-the-art healthcare for their hips, knees, feet, ankles, shoulders, elbows, wrists and hands. Here's Dr. Claire Bolton with more.
As an orthopaedic surgeon, I'm focused on delivering exceptional patient care across a range of treatment options, including robotic surgery. We're committed to innovation because we want to give our patients choices in their individual treatment plans.
All your treatments, all your care, one place. SportsMed. Visit sportsmed.com.au.
It isn't waste until you waste it. That's the catch cry from an amazing company called Eco Waste Solutions. Eco Waste Solutions is a hard waste recycling facility, not a dump, located at Williston. They'll take everything except hazardous waste and food scraps. They'll take your waste bricks, your mattresses, tyres, soil, timber, steel, concrete and more. Plus, if you pre-sort your load, you receive a 50% discount on disposal fees. Google Eco Waste Solutions Williston for more.
We can move the world for you. Cameron's Can Do. Cameron's.
For over 45 years, Cameron's can-do attitude has seen it weather many challenges, including a pandemic of major proportions. Now in 2021, Cameron's is ready to meet the challenge of managing our clients' logistics around the nation and help drive Australia's economic recovery. What can Cameron's do for you? Camerons.com.au.
We can move the world for you. Cameron's Can Do. Cameron's.
When you need a plumber, you need them right away, as in today. Give Ken a call. Ken Hall Plumbers, your local plumbers since 1983. On time, every time, at a time that suits you. Give Ken a call. 8364 5855.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
11 to 8, the sun is beaming through the window here at level 4 Hindmarsh Square. Looks like it's going to be a magnificent day. Now, I've had a look at the Weather Bureau's forecast. It's telling me it's not going to last. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News is on the line with the specifics. Amelia, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's very accurate, Will. It's actually a really lovely morning, but we are expecting showers, maybe even thunderstorms to develop. We've got this, I'd like to call it sort of a lazy system. It's just kind of been sort of just dragging its feet as it moves across SA, yesterday and today. And it's just pulling in sort of tropical moisture from the north. So, we could see showers develop today across a huge area of the state, but also thunderstorms are possible too. Now, those parts that do see thunderstorms, well, they're the ones that are more likely to see those higher rainfalls, possibly totals of 20 to 30 millimetres by the end of the week. It's just because it's a bit warm, we're seeing the humidity bump up. There is just that chance of the odd rumble here and there. But for the city, maybe anywhere from 2 to 10 millimetres worth, going for a top of 20 degrees. And tomorrow we could still see a shower or two lingering as well, 18 degrees. Hopefully clearing by Friday afternoon. It's a very Friday thing to happen, but Saturday's a pick of the long weekend. Dry skies, 22 degrees before those showers return on Sunday, and maybe continuing into the public holiday Monday as well, which could be a little bit wet. But yeah, today's system's the one to watch. It's a little unpredictable the way these sort of systems work, and it's really set to fire up as it moves over the eastern states as well. So that's my producer, guys, in case you can hear it.
Yeah, they're getting younger, aren't they, Amelia? These days, these days of cost cutting.
This one hasn't even been to school yet, so
That's all right.
So, interesting day ahead, guys.
Good stuff, Amelia.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News. A little bit of help in the background.
Yeah, the producer. How about that? Replace the existing producers with a fleet of 2-year-olds. Watch out, Andy and Lucy. Might start getting some ideas.
Yeah, Andy's
it's gone
responded.
down well.
I think he held up 2 fingers there to say 2-year-olds. I'm pretty sure what that meant. It'd be unfortunate if we interpreted it in any other way.
Bring Sam and Charlie in here to do a couple of shifts.
All right. It's time for John Blake, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast, 13 13 64.
The Office of the Premier of South Australia, the Honourable Stephen Marshall.
Yes, Julian.
Morning, Premier Passport. Would you like a cup of tea?
Don't call me that.
All right.
Yes, please.
All right.
Tea lady! Oh, great.
Some people are calling you that online, that's all.
What, Premier Passport?
Yes, it seems they've moved on from Premier Stephen Marshmallow.
Oh, that wasn't even creative.
No!
It didn't mean anything.
No!
No.
Well, they might have been saying, that you're gooey on the inside.
Oh, that...
And easily squashed.
What?
Oh, that's not what I think, Premier. That's just what they were saying.
Okay.
That when the heat is on, you turn to muck.
Oh, hang on.
It's not what I think, it's just what they think.
Right.
That you're malleable.
I'm not
Easily pushed around by other people.
I'm not easily
That's not what I think, it's just what they're saying.
Yeah, well, they're wrong.
That you give in to pressure and don't resist anything.
That's not...
You just conform to any corner you get squeezed into.
I don't
And
get-
wouldn't it be lovely to stick a fork through you and roast you over an open fire?
Oh, that's...
Oh, it's not what I think, it's other people's interpretation.
I see.
And then drown you in a bowl of banana custard.
Oh.
It's just an impression some people get, that's all.
Well, it's not a good...
And that you can easily be flattened and ground into the pavement and then wiped off the sole of someone's shoe like a dead cockroach.
Julian...
That's not what I think, it's what other people might be thinking.
Really?
And that Grant Stevens and Nicola Spurrier are really busy.
Well, they are busy.
Scraping all the muck off their shoes.
What?
Bye.
Police Commissioner Grant
Julie.
Stevens will be on the program after 8:30 this morning. If you had a question for the Commissioner, as always, we invite it through to us on 8223 You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line.
Hey, apologies, folks, for not getting to these texts yesterday, but we often do this. We obviously can't always get to all the texts we get on the old Telstra Storm Out Barker text line because there's just so many. But rest assured, we do get to read them all, and they inform the discussion that we have. And sometimes we can actually make time to claw back and go back into ones from yesterday. Now, we were talking about the discrepancy between the vaccination rates in Playford, which is the sort of Elizabeth Salisbury area, obviously, versus the leafy eastern suburbs in Burnside, and the differential's huge. It's about 30% difference between first jab
amazing
in the north versus the east. We got some interesting feedback, and some of it, I think, goes to availability or logistics in the northern suburbs, in the minds of some listeners, and also the age profile. Tessa, our good friend in Paraka, she says, I wonder if Playford's lagging due to a higher number of under 40s in the LGA than in Burnside. I won't be double vaxxed until next month, and that was the soonest I could get in. But this one here, I think, is particularly interesting. Hey guys, re-vaccines in Playford. The area is huge, and there's only one place in Elizabeth between Jepps Cross and Gawler to get vaccinated. That's what makes it difficult to get it done. And there was another one here from the parent of a woman. He says, my daughter was due to get her first injection in Murray Bridge on June the 7th, had to cancel due to work commitments, made a new appointment on the same day, and was then told that they could only fit her in on October the 5th. So it does sound like there's some lag time issues.
To that end, you'll remember the Premier opened a clinic at the South Australian Produce Market in Paraka.
Yeah.
That's only been open for 8 days. 1,500 Pfizer shots a week. So that probably hasn't necessarily had a chance to flow through the data yet.
Yeah.
So we might actually see, if it's a logistical issue, it might pick up sooner rather than later.
Hope so.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's a really big gap at the moment.
It's too big.
Yeah.
It's staggering. Right now, just while you were talking, I was having a look at some of the latest data for the rollout. 66.7% in South Australia as of yesterday. 66.7% first dose, 48.4% second. New South Wales, by way of comparison, this is now this is becoming a staggering success story in New South Wales, at least in the vaccination rollout. 86.2% have had the first dose.
They're going to be over 90%.
Over 90%, which means they might be the first people to be able to travel to Perth.
Yeah.
They've said they want 90% coverage over there. So,
well,
wouldn't that be a turn up for
watch that space.
That's right. I think they're going to be aiming for 107%.
Hey, Tony in Westlake's pulled me up. I was having a good-natured dig at the Premier in the sports segment about the Crows camp and the Safe Work SA committee meeting, even though the Premier did make some comments that were regarded, understandably, as being in support of the Safe Work investigation. Tony in Westlake says, Dave and Will, it was Tammy Frank's Green MLC that moved the motion to get Safe Work SA to investigate the Crows, not the Premier.
Don't defend the Premier. I was trying to make a positive statement about the Crows during that sports wrap, and he just texted me, keep dreaming. So let's not defend the Premier on football-related issues, shall we?
So we're clarifying it in one area while he's trash-talking my colleague.
First positive thing I've said about the club in 4 years. Eugene,
that is true.
Yeah, Eugene has called in. Morning, Eugene.
Morning, guys. Look, I understand that there's limited scope in these areas to get vaccinated, but like I'm in Linden Park, but I drove down to Noarlunga to get mine because I actually wanted to get it done. So I understand sometimes in these areas there's not the clinics available, but with a little bit of effort sometimes you can actually find the vaccinations and get vaccinated pretty quick at the moment.
Mate, that is a good point. And look, I've seen a couple of people make comments, I had to wait 1.5 hours. And so, well, yeah, better that than getting the coronavirus and dying from it, I would have thought. So
I would encourage anyone, and thanks for your call, Eugene, if you want to go in and out quickly, do it at Wayville.
Wayville's good.
I did my second one on Monday there, and I tell you what.
You weren't there for more than an hour, were you?
The
longest part's waiting after you've had the shot.
Well, you do 15 minutes, you need to be there for observation. And I reckon both times I've been in and out I've probably parked the car and within 10 minutes I'm jabbed. Both times.
Yeah.
It's just a remarkably efficient setup there. And you sit around for your 15 minutes and you go.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good system.
2 minutes to 8.
SA libraries offer much more than books. There's coffee, toys and quiet little nooks. Courses to study and games to play, with free internet access every day. A place to belong and learn new things. Story time, book clubs and magazines. Be part of the story at your local council library. SA councils operate more than 100 libraries, with millions of items available to borrow. for the friends, books and nooks. SA Councils, part of your everyday.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think, because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Imagine it's a beautiful sunny day. You're standing on a garden of lush green turf. You've got your shoes off so you can feel that grass between your toes. Give them a good scrunch. Really feel your feet sink into the cool, soft grass. That feeling is yours every day when you lay lawn in your garden from the Turf Farm. The Turf Farm plant it, nurture it, harvest it, deliver it, and importantly, they guarantee it. Trust the Turf Farm. Go to theturffarm.com.au.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Showers and 20 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Hit. Car scuffle driving to work? Contact Premier Panel Services, RAA approved crash repairer.
The federal government will wind down COVID disaster payments as vaccination rates increase. Once jurisdictions reach 70% fully vaccinated, recipients will need to apply for $750 payments each week. The payments will then end 2 weeks after a state reaches 80%. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says we need to learn to live with the virus.
A pretty significant change to their lives with these extended lockdowns. And so just as the rest of the world is living with the virus, so will we. And we need to do so in a COVID-safe way, so there may still be some health restrictions in place. But as for the lockdowns, we want to make them a thing of the past.
But at the moment, an infectious diseases expert warns Brisbane will lock down if more COVID cases emerge in the community. Of the 4 new infections, an unvaccinated truck driver who was infectious in the community for 8 days is of most concern. Dr Paul Griffin has told Today shutting down is a very real possibility.
I think if we saw any more transmission basically arising from any of these cases, I really wouldn't be surprised if the next step is a lockdown. Hopefully a short one as we get on top of things, but I think we're pretty close at the moment, so I really need to watch closely the next few days.
A 14-year-old boy has been charged after crashing a car during a joyride south of the city. Police were called to Port Wollonga shortly before midnight after the Corolla went into a tree. None of the 3 people in the vehicle were injured. The ruins of Arthur's Seat at Crafers, considered an unofficial memorial for victims of Ash Wednesday, could be sold off by Renewal SA. The land was previously offered for sale to the Adelaide Hills Council, but elected members voted against buying it. Now expressions of interest are being sought. But heritage consultant Sandy Wilkinson has told 5AA Breakfast the ruins should remain public property.
What would make more sense is to apportion some of that site to Cleland National Park, which is right next to it. I mean, there's always a risk that if it were restored, because it's at the top of the hill with the trees there, it could just burn down again.
America's top general has been put under a heated cross-examination to assess the chaotic withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan. The evacuation from Kabul is being labelled a logical success but a strategic failure. Mark Milley has told senators the Taliban is still a terrorist organisation.
And they still have not broken ties with al-Qaeda. I have no illusions who we are dealing with. It remains to be seen whether or not the Taliban can consolidate power or if the country will further fracture into civil war.
In the US, Gabby Petito's family has held a press conference as the hunt for her fiancé Brian Laundrie continues. They're asking Brian to turn himself in. Petito family attorney Richard Stafford.
Justice for Gabby is that we see justice for her homicide. The FBI has classified her death a homicide. They are the premier agency in the country. They're investigating her death, and we believe through their investigation we will have justice for Gabby.
Youth climate campaigners are blasting world leaders for being all talk and no action. They've gathered in Italy for the Youth for Climate conference. Swedish activist Greta Thunberg says CO2 emissions are continuing to rise, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Our leaders' intentional lack of action is a betrayal towards all present and future generations. The people in power cannot claim that they are trying, because they are clearly not, as they continue opening up brand new coal mines, oil fields and pipelines, pretending to have ambitious climate policies.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to 15% on selected Asco cooking appliances at Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Jace Kemp.
Thank you, Mel. Fitness guru Darren Burgess is heading to West Lakes next season. The Demons' high-performance boss has decided to return to Adelaide for family reasons after helping Melbourne break a 57-year premiership drought.
It makes it a whole lot easier. That's what we came here to do, myself and Goody, and one of my best mates, Greg Stafford, sort of got me here as well, and so it's just awesome that we're able to leave on this sort of note.
Still on footy, and the AFL is set to enforce mandatory vaccinations for players next season. AFL boss Gillon McLachlan says it's a path out of current lockdowns. The NRL is pushing ahead for Sunday's grand final in Brisbane despite new COVID cases emerging. The Queensland outbreak has thrown the Sheffield Shield fixture into chaos though. Alex Carey telling Rowie the Redbacks are unsure when they'll play again.
Not sure, to be honest, with the little scare up in Queensland. We just have to be on our toes to either prepare to play whenever we get told to, and if you've got to travel, then pack up your gear and go somewhere. But at this stage, pretty uncertain.
In the Champions League, Liverpool has thrashed Porto 5-1, while Lionel Messi has scored his first goal for PSG in their 2-0 win over Manchester City.
It's Messi, 2-0 to PSG, and a first in the blue of PSG for Lionel Messi. And what a goal it was.
And finally, Royal Randwick will host up to 5,000 fully vaccinated spectators for the Everest next month. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Is your BMW due for a service? Then book your service today at Glenelg BMW on Brighton Road.
O'Halloran Hill got a broken down track on the Southern Expressway. It's in the left-hand lane as you're heading outbound. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. At Northfield, expect delays Grand Junction Road at Hampstead Road for works affecting both directions there. Busy on the drive-in today, Grand Junction Road, Fosters Road to Arthur Avenue, and cameras Bartley Terrace, Westlake Shore, and Grand Junction Road at Gillis Plains. Right now at Oporto, get a delicious pita pocket with 2 crispy chicken strips, coleslaw, regular chips, and a 3.90ml drink for just $9.95. Order in store or take away now. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Showers a top of 20 today, a shower or two tomorrow 18, Friday a shower or two 17. Right now it's 17 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 8, breaking 8 coming up shortly. We'll wrap some of the stories that are dealt over the course of the morning just after. Then after 8:30 today, Police Commissioner Grant Stevens. Some good questions coming through on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Received a number that go to caps on how many people you can have in your home for private gatherings. That seems to be the big bone of contention right now. So we'll dig into that with the Police Commissioner after 8:30. But similarly, if you've got a question, a qualm, a concern, comment, let us know. 0480 08 1395. That is the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Time to
break some eight.
Break some eight, as they say.
The dispute between the Ambulance Employees Association and the state government might technically be over when it comes to rostering and hours, but we're still hearing all sorts of horror stories from within the ambulance workers. I got a text on Sunday from an AMBO about a case involving a male patient on Saturday who called for an ambulance suffering from acute abdominal pain at 9 a.m, and it was dispatched as what's called a P3, meaning the response time should have been 30 minutes. The ambulance arrived, this is after the phone call was made at 9 a.m, the ambulance arrived at 1:30 p.m, which is 4.5 hours later. The crew were then ramped at the RAR for an hour and a half. Numerous attempts were made to escalate at the hospital as the pain was getting worse. The poor bloke then passed out. He was unconscious in the back of the ambulance, and he was finally brought into the hospital at 3 p.m. In a broader sort of structural sense, And you might remember we did that breaking it out a couple of years ago, a year or so ago, when we had the audio from inside the call centre one night about all the jobs that were uncovered, that is, where ambulances couldn't respond to them. The union has now turned that audio into a TV advertising campaign where they're demanding more staff. Well, we were told that last Saturday night there was no extended care paramedic rostered on overnight in the emergency operations centre, and this was due to a staff problem. Now, the extended care paramedic is the clinical manager on shift. It's the highest clinical level in the ambulance service. They provide clinical support to all of the volunteers, paramedics, intensive care paramedics. There's normally 3 extended care paramedics rostered on overnight. They provide all the clinical support to the 000 callers, help the public with delivering babies if required, or other supports that are required. We've been told that there's a shortage of extended care paramedics in the order of 20 staff due to cutbacks. So any suggestion that this is case closed, I'm sure the government takes a dark industrial view of this on the eve of an election from a union. They probably regard it as, that's just them rattling the cage. But all I'm saying is that none of that stuff came to me from the union. It just came to me from ambos on the front line saying they've had a gutful.
10 minutes after 8. Time to recap some of the stories that have been developing over the course of the morning. One of those came to us by way of SAPOL, a 14-year-old set to face court this later today. Oh dear, little joyride scenario.
So just after 11:50 last night, police and emergency services were called to Port Road at Port Wollonga after reports that a car had crashed into a tree. Thankfully, the driver and 2 teenage passengers in the car were not injured. Checks revealed the driver of the car, who was only 14, was unlicensed. He was charged with failing to truly answer and driving without a licence. He's been bailed to appear in court in December. So, yeah, obviously, the age of 14, you don't know how to drive a car, and showed that last night, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Federal Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg's been doing the rounds on morning television and radio around the country today as well to talk more in depth about a federal government plan to force state and territory leaders to abandon lockdowns. The leverage, the carrot or stick, we had a debate about whether it was carrot or stick a little bit earlier, is the $1.5 billion in ongoing emergency Commonwealth support for affected workers and businesses. The scenario is this: at 70% it'll begin to taper off, at 80% it'll be turned off. Here's the Treasurer.
Currently we're providing about 1.5 million people across the country with the COVID disaster payment. It's a $750 payment based on the number of hours of work that have been lost. And at 70%, rather than being a recurring payment, these individuals will need to reapply on a weekly basis. And once we get to an 80% double dose vaccination rate in a particular state or territory, that payment will come to an end, but there will be a 2-week transition period. This is in accordance with the national plan, and it's a way to ensure that our labour market can continue to operate more freely.
We used the term yesterday when we spoke to Phil Curry, hapless bystander, to describe the extent to which the Prime Minister has looked sort of constitutionally emasculated in our federation, where premiers have been able to run around doing whatever the hell they like, despite some of the things that have been agreed to at National Cabinet. What this is, I reckon, is the federal government sat down and said, all right, if we haven't got the constitutional power to pull these people in a line, what can we do? And the answer is money. Hip pocket. And, if we are going to get out of this mess, I actually think it's a totally valid tactic by the feds to say we're not the nation's ATM. We're not going to sit here while you run border regimes that are based on nothing other than paranoia and cheap local poll-driven populism. We need to act as a nation, and if that's what it takes to really put the screws on the holdout state, so be it.
Well, I mean, I think even at a lesser level, without being so strident in the rhetoric, the federal government can rightly say, by way of these payments, your lockdown policy positions are positions without downside. Why wouldn't you maintain a lockdown if all the downside of it is being fully funded by the federal government?
Yeah, totally.
So
Well, you're almost being financially rewarded for doing something that is going to become completely unnecessary.
Exactly right, which I expect is much of what the Treasurer is doing the rounds saying this morning. Some news too out of the A-League, who I think have had a pretty good off-season, striking the deal with Paramount and 10 to show games on free-to-air and then on their new streaming service. They have just announced in the last 15 minutes a fairly significant change to some of the naming. Now, the A-League has always been the men's competition. It will be now A-League men's. The W League will not be the W League anymore. It too will be the A League, but it'll be A League Women's, and the Youth League will fall under that banner as well. It'll be the A League youth competition.
This was the same discussion that happened surrounding the AFL last year.
Yes.
The AFL should be renamed Men's, and the AFLW should just be AFL Women's.
Yes, that's right.
But it was rejected.
So the A League's gone the other way. They've said it's all one A League now. That's the catch cry. There's more to come out. It sounds like this is part of a stage rollout of some major announcements about the game and the management of it in Australia. Today was a part of that. The TV deal was obviously a huge bit of it going back a couple of months. So we'll see what more is to come. But as I say, I think they've had a pretty good off-season, the A League. But the challenge will be what comes on the pitch, because getting people from around the world into Australia, wanting to be here, quarantine, all those sorts of things poses some unique problems for that sport.
We're getting a stack of texts on the Chelsea Store Mount Barker text line about the discussion about vaccinations. Quite a few people are making the point that it's actually a hell of a lot less hard than some people seem to think to get vaccinated, particularly now that I've had a couple of texts from mates privately saying that Terry White and Priceline pharmacies are all offering the Moderna vaccine. Two mates of mine with teenage sons said they rocked up and got fully vaccinated on the spot. So there are places there. We had a call saying that there's a bit of an issue still with geography in the northern suburbs, and that Perak is hardly, just around the corner if you happen to live in Elizabeth. But overall, people are saying, listen, if you want to get one, and you should want to get one, you can get one.
There's a world of difference between actively wanting to get it and just, I'll get around to it when it's super easy. And it's that latter category that I think are facing the challenges, because as our texters are pointing out, if you want it, you can certainly get it. Pharmacies now too.
It's a pretty simple Google search as well. Like when they announced that teenagers could get it, under 16s, that is, could get it. I did a Google search and took my teenage son, not to Wayville, but took him to a medical clinic not far, like literally a few kilometres from our house. Took no time at all. It was dead easy.
The reason we're at 66.7% and the New South Wales is now at 86% is that the gap is partly because of availability and urgency, but partly it's because there's a cohort of people that aren't in the anti-vax camp and aren't in the I'm going to go get it as soon as I can camp. They're in the, well, when it's easy, I'll do it one day when I'm free camp. And those are the ones that I think are most susceptible. Things like, how close is it to where I live? How hard is this to book in? All those kinds of things.
Yeah,
that's what we're hearing a little bit about. 17 minutes after 8. Who should be the next Bond? We spoke about Daniel Craig and the Bond premiere in London that's been taking place over the last couple of hours. 25th instalment of the Bond franchise. Daniel Craig, too old. He's having to move on. We have a Royal Show VIP, should I say not the Royal Show, VIP family pass to give away. But we want to make this a little bit parochial and a little bit local. Why shouldn't Bond be South Australian?
Oh, that's a good idea.
If the next Bond was South Australian, who plays James Bond?
Oh.
8223 0000. Let us know. You could win that Not the Royal Show family VIP pass on at Benithan Park right now.
As you said that, Will, I just had a weird flashback, and it was to you wearing a Peter Shearer tuxedo. Do you drink martinis, eh?
Well, look, I guess I could for the role. I like olives.
Yeah, I love a martini.
But I did wear a skivvy. That disqualifies me, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think James. Oh no, actually, I reckon Sean Connery wore one maybe in the Man with the Golden Gun or something like that.
He wore it a little differently to how I wore it, I reckon. Is your BMW due for a service?
Come, Will Goodings. I know you derive as much pleasure from wearing skivvies as I do.
You like skivvies just as much as I do. Is your BMW due for a service? Then book your service today at Glenelg BMW on Brighton Road.
At Warradale, urgent civil works on Diagonal Road near Boca Street. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. And Crayford's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for works with speeds reduced in both directions. Busy on the drive-in, Main North Road, Clayson Road to McIntyre Road. And got cameras today, Military Road, Westlake Shore and Lady Gowrie Drive at Taparoo. Click Frenzy's Fitness and Fashion Frenzy is on now. Up to 50% off Platypus, Skechers, Style Runner and more. Ends Sunday. Shop now at clickfrenzy.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie Sport Show.
Darren Burgess is a Crow. You know him well. What are your thoughts?
Oh, he's very good at what he does, and he's a mate of mine, so I'll be honest and say I'm a little bit compromised with it. But when you're super fit, you believe in your hype, and that's exactly the difference in Melbourne. The last 2 years, what have they done? They've started believing what they've got.
4 p.m. weekdays.
He is not going to be the fix for Adelaide and go, wow, but what I will tell you is they'll be fitter than they've ever been, and it'll give them the best chance to have success than they've had.
Rowie Sport Show on 5AA.
Guess what? Sleeping Duck is not a saggy foam only mattress, but is supported by twice tempered steel springs. That's why I put the Sleeping Duck springs to the test against a 15-ton steamroller. Check it out at mattress-testing.com.
Now's the time to get Bupa Extras with cover for things like physio. Because life could go twang any rep now. Search Bupa Extras to get cover for less than you'd think, from under $3.50 a week. Join before life happens.
Price based on Freedom 50 Extras for a single as of 6 May 21, including base tier rebate for a single aged under 65. Waiting periods apply.
Well, now here we go. Saddle up, folks. This Saturday, it's Super Saturday at your local cheapest chips, and you know what that means. Loads of awesome goodies and amazing value.
Oh, I know what it means. There's the Prinetti Pod coffee machine, only $99. Comes with 100 coffee pods.
Pods. They're giving them away. Also, how's this? Spring weather can be a bit unpredictable, but Cheapest Chips has got you covered for both types of weather. Breeze Max bladeless fans from $79. They'll cool you down. And gas patio heaters from only $149. They'll warm you up.
If you need to freshen up your indoors, as they say. Do they say that?
They do.
They should. Take a look at the Ingrid range. There's coffee tables, console tables, and entertainment units.
And what about this? If you're someone who likes to carry your pet around, and, why not? You might just be, It might be a comfort animal, or you might just want to strut your stuff, sort of, like Paris Hilton with a Chihuahua. There's always something at Cheapest Chips for pets. This Saturday, you'll find pet carriers in 3 different colours, only $12.50. That's absurd.
That's crazy.
They're just giving them away.
They basically are.
You can carry your pets.
That must be a loss leader.
Yeah,
as
I think
they
it
say
would
in
be.
the
That's
business.
just aimed at getting people into the store.
There's plenty more Super Saturday deals. Just check the back page of this week's Cheapest Chips catalogue, or check them out at your local Cheapest Chips this Saturday.
Want to learn to be the boss?
Change the system.
Blaze the trail.
Want to turn your passion into pay?
Ever dreamed of solving the problem?
Helping community.
Setting the trends.
The time to take this course begins today.
At Torrens University Australia, we can transform passion into careers that bring the best out of you.
Find a course that fits you perfectly and follow your heart.
Do what you love.
And love what you do.
Search Torrens University Australia.
When I retire, how much is the pension? How much more will I need? The only figure that you should remember is 5. 5 years. That's how long it will take to prepare for the retirement you want with MBA Financial Strategists. Our Retire in 5 plan will project where you'll be in 5 years and beyond. You might find that the wealth you need, you already have. Don't put it off. Start with a free consultation with MBA Financial Strategists. retireinfive.com.au. See website for T's and C's.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes after 8. We have in fact, we've got 2 family VIP passes to Not the Royal Show to give away. It's on Benithan Park through to the 4th of October. You can get tickets at novafm.com.au, or you can call in right now on 8223 and tell us who should be the next Bond, the 25th instalment of Bond. The premiere's on at the moment in London. Biggest premiere they've had since the start of COVID. It's huge, but it's Daniel Craig's last as Bond. We, being unashamed parochial South Australians, want to see a South Australian Bond next.
We had George Lazenby. He was Australian, but let's
That's
go one
right.
better.
We can do better than that.
Yeah,
we can do a South Australian Bond.
100%.
2 passes to give away. Reno in Torrensville, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. Will, how are you guys?
Good, thanks, mate.
Yeah, well, it can only be one guy, but he can do Bond, he can do the mean guy, and he can do the leading lady. With John Blake. You're John Blake?
Blake is Bond.
Blake. John Blake.
More.
Oh,
that's good. Save on paying all the other actors, wouldn't it?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's just all of them.
Yeah.
Blake is Bond. I don't mind that.
There's a sketch
Adriana,
there.
good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks, Adriana.
That's great. I think Bruce Duttay would make a great South Australian Bond.
Hey, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
First Bond of colour as well.
Bruce.
Yes,
good call.
absolutely. Bruce.
Yeah, he's a good-looking bloke. I met him at a Carols by Candlelight thing. He's always immaculately turned out.
Yes. He's always in a very sharp-looking Bond
well-dressed man,
suit.
Bruce. Keen listener of the program, too.
Well, he might call in and just...
Can't, Bruce.
If he wants to throw his hat in the ring, we know people.
Yeah, that's right.
Angelo is in Onkaparinga Hills. Morning, Angelo.
Morning, guys. How are we?
Good, thanks, mate.
Good. I nominate Bryce Gibbs.
Yeah, well,
he's
he
got
looked pretty flash the other night,
He's got
didn't
the McGarry suit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He looked really well. I thought he'd fit the part really well.
He could be the first Bond to wear a McGarry medal. Wouldn't that be something? Mary in Flagstaff Hill, good morning.
Now, good morning, you guys. Sean Connery was always the best, but I would like Tom Duday.
Oh, the dude.
The dude.
The dude.
Oh, I like that one, Mary.
He's a good-looking bloke.
He's a film buff. He might, on set, he'd be having some suggestions too, I think.
Yeah, he'd do a lot of improv, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He'd have some views on the cinematography.
Yeah.
In fact, he'd probably be really high maintenance
Yeah, he
now
would
I think
actually.
about it.
Who's doing the editing here?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
Can't work under these conditions.
Who's written this? No, we love the dude. Dave in Alberton. Morning, Dave.
Yeah, good morning, guys. The Bond franchise wouldn't give up 2 first-round picks for Gibbs. That'd never happen.
I don't know. They thought they were really close to making a good one, they might.
Ran under a little bit. I thought Julian from the Premier's department would make a very good Bond.
Oh, Julian is Bond. That's a good one.
That's
Thank
good,
you, Dave.
Good. Sort of Julian Clary type capacity.
Lynn and Ranella, good morning.
Hi, guys. My thoughts are it should be Chad Corns.
Yeah, Chad Corns.
Chad Corns. He'd be the most muscular Bond we'd ever had.
Yeah, very
I
fit
think.
Bond.
Fit Bond. I think that'd be a lot of shirtless Bond going on. Just try to get him to put a suit on.
You wouldn't want to ask him about the time Sturt beat him by 1 point in that grand final, though. He'd be very upset about that.
Peter, good morning.
Good morning, gents. How are we?
Good, thanks, mate.
Mate, I reckon 5AA's very own Mark Bickley would have to be a pretty good one.
The Skep Bond.
He's in good nick.
Can I just ask you, Peter, knowing Mark Bickley, did he put you up to this?
No. I've only met the man once.
Okay.
And
And it wasn't to ask you to call in today.
Is that actually you, Mark?
Thank you, Peter. We've got another Peter. Peter in Paraka, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How you going?
Good, thanks, mate.
I reckon any of our state politicians, because they're already good at doing undercover stuff, look what they did with the ICAD.
Well, this is just it.
Good on you, Peter.
If we had a Bond in our midst, we wouldn't know.
Frank Pangello, the next Bond.
He
started it.
is Bond. Pat, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's yours,
I'd like
Pat?
to nominate myself.
Well,
why
good
not?
on you.
What are your credentials to be Bond?
I've brought up 5 kids on my own from a very early age. I withstood 16 years of mental punishment. Bring it on, bad boys.
You make a compelling case, Pat. Thank you. Sam in Theberton, good morning.
Morning, boys. I reckon Graham Cords, because he's got the voice of like Bond. Graham Bond.
That's right. He'd want it changed to be Graham Corns, though, not Bond. But other than that, I think it would work. Michael in Theberton, good morning.
What about Tom Coots and Toners, boys? I think
Turbo Bond.
Perfect. Turbo Bond. Just Tom.
Well, they wouldn't need a stunt driver, would they? They'd save money on the stunt driver because Tom would be able to do all his own stunts.
He can play the good guy and the bad guy.
That's right. Yeah, I think he's more Fast and the Furious, isn't he, than Bond? But thank you. Thank you,
Fast and the Furious 10, Cowandilla.
Vin Diesel and Tom Coots too. We're getting so many great calls. We're going to continue to do this after 8:30. We'll speak with the police commissioner in a moment. We've got 2 double passes.
He's been nominated. He has been nominated on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line.
We might ask him what his thoughts are about that shortly. Keep them coming in, 8223 0000. We've got 2 VIP passes to Not the Raw Show to give away. You can text in as well on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. 5AA News on the way, police commissioner, and more of your calls next.
Overwhelming are the feelings of grief and loss. More so when you add the confusion and uncertainty of arranging a funeral. At Distinctive Funerals, we offer guidance through the hardest of times and clarity for the path ahead. distinctivefunerals.com.au.
North Point Toyota are holding a massive used vehicle sale. They need to clear over $7 million worth of used vehicle stock with a huge range of used vehicles to choose from. SUVs, four-wheel drive, sedans, hatches, commercial vehicles. There's bound to be one that suits you. North Point Toyota's massive used car sale is on right now with all used vehicles available for immediate delivery. It's the North Point way. Hillcrest, Prospect and Port Augusta or northpointtoyota.com.au.
Hi there, Leon Biner here. Have you heard of the 5AA Player? It's 5AA's brand new listening app that lets you listen to all your favourite 5AA shows, news, podcasts, wherever you go. The sound quality is fantastic. It's like we're actually talking with you in the same room. You have complete control, whether you're at home or out and about. You can listen to your favourite 5AA programs at any time of the day. Simply download the 5AA Player from the App Store.
The 5AA Player.
We've crunched the numbers and found we're the only CTP provider originally from South Australia. And right now, if you hold an SGIC CTP policy and purchase a new comprehensive car insurance policy with us for the same car, we'll give you a $100 Visa e-gift card. Call us today on 133 233. SGIC, part of the IAG family. E-gift card offer ends 24 October 2021. Excludes renewing policies. T's and C's apply at sgic.com.au/visa. Always read the PDS and TMDs from sgic.com.au.
Participate in a clinical trial and forge the future of modern medicine. A potential treatment for dementia is being trialled at CMAX in the Adelaide CBD. The trial requires healthy adults aged 18 to 65 to stay at the facility for 7 consecutive nights. All eligible participants are paid for their time. Sign up for CM5421 at cmax.com.au. That's cmax.com.au.
Overwhelming are the feelings of grief and loss. At Distinctive Funerals, we offer guidance through the hardest of times and clarity for the path ahead. distinctivefunerals.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Showers and 20 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Peak hour hit too hard? For an RAA-approved crash repair, contact Premier Panel Services.
A teenage boy has crashed a car during a joyride south of the city. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says they were called to Port Wollonga shortly before midnight after the Corolla went into a tree.
Thankfully, the driver and 2 teenage passengers in the car were not injured. Checks revealed the driver of the car, who was only 14, was unlicensed. He was charged with failing to truly answer and driving without a licence. He's been bailed to appear in court in December.
The RAA wants drivers to take a basic road safety quiz when they renew their licence. The new policy is part of its submission to the state government's 2031 road safety strategy. Road safety manager Charles Mountain says it would be a good opportunity for people to refresh their knowledge.
The whole end point behind this was to provide people an opportunity to test their current level of knowledge, but most importantly, obviously, a key part of this is then to tell people where they've gone wrong. It's about an opportunity to test your level of skills, and where you make mistakes, the test ideally would advise you what the correct answer is so you'd move on from that.
COVID disaster payments will be scrapped once each state and territory hits a full vaccination rate of 80%. Nine's Michael Packey has more.
As more people get the COVID shot, special lockdown payments will be scaled back. Currently, individuals can receive up to $750 a week if they've lost around 20 hours' work. But it'll be harder to get the payment once a jurisdiction hits a double dose rate of 70%. The benefit will end 2 weeks after reaching the 80 target. Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says it's the right thing to do.
These were emergency payments and they couldn't continue forever.
Labor's Richard Miles has expressed some concern.
When these various vaccine targets are reached, that doesn't mean that we're going to see normality return.
The COVID disaster payment has cost just over $9 billion since June.
Optus is refunding businesses almost $800,000 following a billing error. An ACMA investigation found the telco charged customers for landline services they didn't receive. Authority member Fiona Cameron says they continue to bill businesses even after they transferred to other providers.
This occurred over a 10-year period from 2011 to 2021, and this in itself is concerning that it happened for such a sustained period of time. Optus self-reported and have to date repaid 98% of the charges plus interest, which is a good thing.
An American general says it's going to be harder to protect Americans from terrorism after they pulled out of Afghanistan. The 2-decade-long war ended just under a month ago, killing nearly 2,500 US troops. General Mark Milley says Al-Qaeda could pose a risk to Americans in 12 months. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $800 on selected Asco washer dryer packages. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Jace Kemp.
Thank you, Mel. The Demons are due to leave Perth tomorrow to take the Premiership Cup to Melbourne. Darren Burgess, the architect behind the side's drought-breaking flag, is leaving the club for the Crows. D's defender Christian Salen says the strength and conditioning manager will be a big loss.
It's obviously sad to see Virgil leave, but we've got Salen coming in, who's obviously been at the club and worked with Virgil, so we've got full trust in him, and it'll be a pretty smooth transition anyway. So I don't think too much will change.
To cricket, and Strikers glove man Alex Carey has praised Rashid Khan for returning to the Big Bash. Carey telling Rowie he's looking forward to being reunited with the world's top T20 bowler.
I love playing alongside of him. He's always smiling no matter what's going on. He loves his cricket. He loves the fans here. He's very loyal to his teammates, and can't wait to catch up with Rash.
In the Champions League, PSG defeated Manchester City 2-0, while Mo Salah scored a brace for Liverpool's 5-1 thrashing over Porto.
Salah here with a chance to make it 3, and he doesn't miss chances like that. Liverpool catching Porto on the break.
And finally to tennis, Aussie John Millman has moved into the second round of the Sofia Open in Bulgaria. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Glenelg BMW is now open on Brighton Road. Drop in and see Adelaide's newest home for BMW.
At Warradale, got urgent sewer works on Diagonal Road near Boker Street. Mawson Lakes works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays at Port Wakefield Road, Eldersmith Road. Crayfor's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for works with speeds reduced in both directions. And getting busy Main North Road, Clayson Road to McIntyre Road for the drive-in. Cameras, Trimmer Parade, Findon and War Memorial Drive in North Adelaide. Got the worst house on the best street? Talk to Burbank Homes, the knockdown rebuild specialist. Start fresh with a brand new build or even two. Visit burbank.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Head to Foodland, Drake's or IGA for Nutrimate, a new dog roll loaded with healthy nutrients.
Showers today and 20, a shower or two tomorrow 18. Right now it's 18. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Give me a head with hair.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 9. We're casting the South Australian Bond. The 25th film premiere it's probably just about over now in London. Daniel Craig, he's the outgoing Bond, the immediate past Bond. We want a South Australian Bond next. We've got so many good calls and texts before the break. We're going to continue to take them over the course of the next 20 minutes as well. 822 300 00. Text us on the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line. 2 family VIP, not the Royal Adelaide show passes, are up for grabs. And in fact, our next guest has been nominated on multiple occasions. Police Commissioner, potential next Bond, Grant Stevens. Commissioner, good morning.
Well, thanks for the nomination, but
no, it didn't come from us.
Well, it's flattering that someone would think that, but I'm sticking well and truly within my lanes. I know what my strong points are, and international man of mystery is not one of them.
Well, if you rock up at the next transition committee holding a martini, Commissioner, we'll know you how to change your heart.
But who says I'm not doing that anyway to cope with the issues we have to deal with?
Yeah, that's right. Just don't drink it standing up. Mm. So yesterday's meeting was a bit of a nothing occasion. What's the trigger point, do you think, at which you will be able to sort of put the foot to the floor again in terms of lifting some of the restrictions?
Well, David, I think it really centres around the vaccination rates and the take-up within the South Australian community. Numbers are looking pretty good at the moment. I think we're over 65% of eligible South Australians have had their first vaccination, which is a very positive sign. I do think that we are probably very close to what I'd describe as a holding pattern until we do hit that 80% mark, where we start to, aggressively look at what we can do in terms of lifting borders and freeing things up in South Australia.
I think if I was to summarise some of the texts we've been getting with questions for you this morning, most of them seem to go to the residential cap on how many people you can have around your home for birthdays or family events and things like that. Can you just take us through the logic about where that's at and why you can have more people at public venues? Because people seem to be a little bit confused about that area still.
Yeah, look, this is one thing that we do raise with Professor Spurrier, or probably every transition committee, and me and the rest of my team. We meet regularly with SA Health directly, and we are testing those theories in terms of what's the rationale. The bottom line is home gatherings have been identified as one of those factors that can contribute to super spreading. It's happened here in South Australia. It's happened in other jurisdictions in Australia and also overseas. In fact, the Parafield cluster, I think it was 18 members of one family were tested positive as a result of their close connections through a family situation. So it's recognised that people's behaviours inside the home are more close. It's closer. There's more interaction, more intimacy, I suppose, which creates a situation where you can pass it on to other people. When you're in a public place, you tend to interact with the people that you are there with. You don't necessarily interact with every other person that's in the public place.
Well, I guess the thing too is you don't have a COVID marshal if you're having a family barbecue, do you?
Well, that's right. You don't have a COVID marshal. The licensed premises have obligations to ensure that their shared facilities like toilets, washrooms are kept clean, regularly inspected, and no one's a responsible person inside a home. So it's more difficult to be satisfied that people are acting safely from a COVID point of view.
Can you give us any sort of internal insight, Commissioner, into the discussion around masks yesterday? Because there was a bit of speculation in the lead up to the meeting about whether maybe the arrangements for schools might be altered, or is the view now that until we get up to that 80% mark that masks are here to stay?
Well, we didn't know we were talking about masks until we heard it in the media that morning. So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy that because it finds itself front and centre in media discussions, we do end up talking about it. But it would have been spoken about anyway.
Yeah.
There was no specific agenda yesterday going into the meeting that we were looking to lift the requirement for masks. But it has been spoken about, and we are looking for that opportunity to provide some relief to people. The current requirement for masks is that they must be worn the only requirement is indoor public places, which includes supermarkets and shopping centres and places like that. The requirements for schools is something that's been worked out between the Chief Executive of Education, Rick Purse, and SA Health. There's been an exchange of letters in terms of what's the safest thing to do at the moment. But there was no specific discussion about easing that at this point in time. It's one of those things that we are keeping an eye on. But I think people should be prepared for going back to school with masks at the end of the school holidays.
Just teasing out the 80% mark, and we've spoken in the past about that. That's obviously the point at which some restrictions will begin to be relaxed, or certainly you can look at things changing. Is that because at that point in time we can stop considering this to be an emergency? And if we're no longer in a state of emergency, is there a sort of a vaccine point at which time your role as state coordinator will cease?
Well, we are looking at that. I'm pretty keen to get back to the core business of policing as quickly as possible. But the 80% mark is, I think, in some respects, it's a little bit aspirational. We have seen other countries around the world struggle with that, but all of the indicators at this point in time are that we'll hit that. Getting beyond 80% is a real challenge. So that's where the threshold's been set, which means the vast majority of South Australians are protected from becoming really sick from the virus. And it's worth pointing out or reminding people, it doesn't stop you from contracting the virus and it doesn't stop you from passing it on. But it certainly minimises the symptoms that you might experience, which means that our hospital system won't be put under stress by people contracting COVID-19. Because there will be some requirement for some level of restrictions going forward after 80%, it means that we still need a mechanism that enables us to require people to do certain things. And at the moment, that mechanism is the declaration under the major emergency declaration under the Emergency Management Act. And that means that the job I've got at the moment will continue until another way has been identified to sort of maintain those requirements. And it's things like having businesses with QR codes and COVID marshals. Those things will still have to remain in place. And we may have to manage people coming into South Australia from a quarantine point of view if they've come from a high-risk location. So I can't see me getting away from this until we have an alternative mechanism to ensure those things can continue to make sure the public is safe from COVID-19.
Good stuff. Police Commissioner Grant Stevens, thanks for joining us this morning on 5AA. I would say too, in case anyone who listened to that interview was wondering why we didn't ask the question, and it's one which, as a journo, I was mad keen to ask it.
Yep.
The Commissioner gave some extraordinary evidence to a parliamentary committee last week about ICAC. Now, it's my understanding that evidence is not yet covered by parliamentary privilege, meaning that it cannot be the subject of a freewheeling discussion in a live radio setting. It was very powerful testimony that he gave with outlining his concerns about the nature of the committee itself and the discussion on North Terrace about ICAC. But we'll park that for another day because it's a big story, but it's not one that can yet be discussed in an unfettered fashion because of the way parliamentary privilege works.
Is your BMW due for a service? Well, then book your service today. Glenelg BMW on Brighton Road.
At Warradale, got urgent civil works on Diagonal Road at Boker Street. Mawson Lakes, works on the Salisbury Highway causing delays Port Wakefield Road to Eldersmith Road. Crayfor's got a lane closed on the freeway inbound for work. Speeds reduced there. And busy on the drive in Goodwood Road, Francis Street to Victoria Street. Look out for cameras Grand Junction Road, Gillis Plains, Bartley Terrace, Westlake Shore and War Memorial Drive in North Adelaide. Shopping around for the latest 5G phone? At Optus you can get the best price guaranteed. Visit Optus in store or check out the Optus 5G phone price match online today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Get out and see our great state with Holiday Wonders Mitcham. Use your Great State voucher to enjoy one of Holiday Wonders' incredible day tours. Go on safari to Monado Safari Park. Enjoy cruising the picturesque Murray River with lunch in Mannum. Or enjoy the best of the Barossa with lunch on the green at Seppeltsfield Winery. You can board your coach from city and suburban locations. Call Holiday Wonders Mitcham to book your Great State day tour today. holidaywonders.com.au.
Hi ladies, Heather from Joyreen Fashions. Do you get frustrated with the lack of choice to fit the mature figure? With 50 years fashion experience, we can definitely assist you in this area. We have a wonderful choice of spring and summer fashion and one of Adelaide's largest selections in casual day wear through to special occasion wear. Come in early and let's help you find that special outfit for any occasion. Joyreen Fashions for mothers and daughters, 491 Port Rush Road, Glenunga.
Feel a grand final fever this Sunday with the Sandful Statewide Super League Grand Final at Adelaide Oval. The Eagles take on Glen Elk from 3 p.m. Just who will be crowned premiers? Get the kids, round up your mates, bring the boundary banter and complete your Sandful story for 2021. Don't miss it. The Sandful Statewide Super League Grand Final this Sunday. Tickets from Ticketek. Visit sandful.com.au/finals for more info.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability. Get world-leading safety and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For sales, service and hire, get a Toyota forklift.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. With summer outdoor entertaining on the way, National Tiles has huge stocks of genuine travertine and porcelain pavers at great prices for immediate delivery. Yes, National Tiles has huge stocks of genuine travertine and porcelain pavers at great prices for immediate delivery. So to get your outdoor entertaining areas in great shape for summer, rush into National Tiles now and save. National Tiles, #1 for the very best outdoor pavers.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Need more living space or storage? Visit olympicindustries.com.au. Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
11:09. We've got 2 Not the World Show Family Pass VIP tickets to give away. Take the whole family on. This is going to be great. It's on through to the 4th of October. If you've driven past Bonython Park, you will have seen it. Lights up that whole part of the parklands. You can get tickets at novafm.com.au. We'll give away a couple in the next few minutes. We started this by asking you about who should be the next Bond. We wanted it to be a South Australian Bond. And frankly, we've kept it going because we had too much fun when the first batch of calls came through. Joe in Henley Beach, who do you think it should be?
Well, I'm not sure if he's been nominated yet, but I feel like in an homage to Roger Moore and Live and Let Die, Will Goodings as Bond wearing a skivvy.
That is one hell of a nomination, Joe.
I think it was a once only, that skivvy.
Live and Let Die with Will Goodings.
Thank you, Joe.
He's still got it. He's got it neatly folded in his special drawer. He calls it his never fail gear.
Somewhere, my father, as the biggest Sean Connery Bond fan of all time, just quivered, and he doesn't know why, at the suggestion that me wearing a skivvy could be Bond. I like this one that suggested you, David. Rick in Port Wollonga said Pembo should be the next Bond. He'd distract the bad guys by telling them what food he'd make to compliment a shaken martini long enough for the police to arrive.
I'd be hopeless. I'd drink too many martinis.
Let's go to Mark in Summertown.
How you doing? Look, I'm a bit left field. But I thought someone that needs the power to be able to operate under their own direction and own volition is someone who's had it taken away, and that's Amanda Vanstone.
Hey, now, mate, I reckon it's good, Mark. I don't know why more people haven't said, let's have the discussion. Why can't you have a female Bond?
Absolutely.
I've got 2 nominations for a
Bond.
female Bond. One's Jane Doyle.
Yes.
Because she's classy, she's debonair. The other is Penny Wong.
Wong Bond.
Yeah, Wong Bond. Because she's exotic and elegant, but she's got that air of restrained menace. Anyone who's ever seen her on Full Flight and Question Time.
Well, Bond has to have that steely look, as though, death is imminent for
Penny
enemies.
Wong can do
Penny
the look.
has that look. Basil in Salisbury, good morning.
Good morning. I would nominate Fitzy and also put the film in Nolanga.
Oh,
yes. The film in Nolanga because Fitzy will be at his home.
I like Fitzy as Bond foiling some sort of international plot.
Involving Noarlunga.
In Noarlunga.
Yeah, like some Russians hanging around the Colonnades Tavern or something.
David in Bylen, good morning.
Morning. I've got a nomination for Choco Williams, super intelligent master stroke guy, winning premierships from the background.
Yeah,
well, his record it speaks for itself now, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
If you can win premierships at that many clubs, why couldn't you take it to, either organised crime or, KGB agents?
Yeah, that's right.
Steve at CP Downs, good morning.
G'day, guys. Look, this bloke's got a great affiliation with the colours of black and white. And if he wore this Guernsey instead of the tuxedo, the prison bar jumper, wouldn't that upset Collingwood running around on the big screen? Warren Tredgrey.
Treaders.
Yeah, that's good.
Treaders.
We've had a few for Travis Boak as well.
Prison bar bond.
Yes. Oh, imagine Eddie's reaction.
Well, Eddie could be the bad guy. Eddie would be...
Jaws.
He'd be like Jaws, have the silver teeth, and he'd be living on an island that was shaped like a skull.
A lot of Collingwood fans do have teeth like that.
Stuart in Hope Valley, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Now, I've got someone debonair for you here. What about Peter Goers?
Yeah, well, that'd certainly be something.
Except for the action sequences, though.
It'd be different. He'd have a very different approach, wouldn't he?
Sit there chain smoking. Exactly. Talking about his favourite knick-knack shops in the Barossa Valley. Terrific.
Rick in Aldinga Beach, maybe the last one.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mine's Erin Phillips. She was born and grew up on the dark side and has moved and saw the light, so she'd have it all covered.
Yeah, that's.
Hey, I like that.
That is a
good
bond
one.
with broad appeal in South Australia.
Was that from Rick?
That was Rick.
Rick in Aldinga Beach.
I think it was Rick in Aldinga Beach. Do you like it for the winner?
Well, we get two winners.
Two winners.
Look, I think the idea of Erin doing it is terrific.
Okay, that's one winner.
Rick's one. And I liked Adriana with Bruce Gite as well.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion.
Yeah, that was really good. Adriana and Rick.
Nova's.
Thanks to everyone.
Absolutely. Great suggestion. That was really good fun. Nova's Not the Royal Show is on now in Benitham Park through to the 4th of October. You can get tickets from novafm.com.au. Let's go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Yeah, good morning and welcome to 5AA Breakfast. And David Penberthy, good morning to you too.
Good morning, Will, and good morning, listeners.
Welcome to Tuesday.
It's a long way to Tipperary.
It sure is, David.
Angela Merkel.
Let's check the headlines for today. R&B singer R. Kelly has been found guilty of racketeering over in the US.
He's from New Orleans, isn't he?
Chicago, I think, David.
Oh, that's lucky. I would have had to like him.
In the late 90s, R. Kelly had songs like I Believe I Can Fly, which is the one I recognise.
I'm not familiar with R. Kelly's work.
He also had another one called Bump and Grind.
It's really good that I don't know his work, because if I did, I'd keep breaking into song.
That's true, David.
And me going, I believe I can fly. Well, you're talking about targeting and sexually exploiting young men and women just wouldn't fly.
No, not at all, so that's lucky.
And me going, I don't feel nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. Wouldn't sit with you talking about him kidnapping and sex trafficking and violating the Mann Act.
No, it wouldn't. And also...
I believe I can touch the sky.
David.
He'll get some damn good reverb on his voice when he's locked in the big house.
Also in the US, a federal judge has approved the unconditional release of John Hinckley, who shot President Ronald Reagan. He's now 66 years of age.
Luckily, Will, I do know the work of this bloke. And the work of Martin Scorsese, which is actually pronounced Scorsese, who directed Taxi Driver, starring Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle, and John Hinckley watched it over and over and over.
Right, and so he will be released.
During the movie, he becomes increasingly unhinged and goes on a killing spree to save Jodie Foster, who's an 11-year-old prostitute.
That's right, yep.
If I wasn't a thinking, well-grounded journalist, that'd be a cue for me to sing another R. Kelly song, but thankfully I'm not familiar with his work.
Was it that bad?
Don't miss the news headlines. 6:15 each and every morning.
Free film reviews thrown in.
Well, look, something for everyone.
Yes, that's right.
Now, something for everyone out in our roads this morning. We spoke a lot about fuel earlier today in the context of what was happening in the UK. Let's have a look at what's happening out in the roads here in Adelaide. Fuel Watch, thanks to Glenelg BMW. They're now open on Brighton Road. Drop in and see Adelaide's newest home for BMW. We've got some cheap spots for you, or cheaper spots. $1.35 at the OTR on North East Road, Walkerville. $1.36 at the Caltex Woolies in Elizabeth on Playford Highway. $1.39 along South Road in Clovelly Park, and $1.34 at the Costco in Kilburn.
The St John Christmas Home and Lifestyle Lottery is South Australia's biggest ever home lottery. With a $10 million prize pool and more than 30,000 prizes, there's a 1 in 7 chance of winning a prize. The $4 million luxury grand prize package includes a Walkerville home, 2 Porsches, 2 tag watches, a premium wine collection, and $250,000 in cash. Buy your tickets at stjohnlottery.com.au and support St John SA today. Licence number M14082.
Grab your best mates and get these great rates. Then get ready, save and go to the NT now. With mates rates packages, you save up to $1,000 per person on getaways to the Red Centre, including Alice Springs, Uluru, Kings Canyon, Carter Judah, West McDonnell Ranges and more. The Red Centre is wide open and it's ready, save, go to the NT now. With deals from just $3.99 per person. Book now and travel to April 2022. Visit ntnow.com.au.
No one likes to wait, especially if you're waiting for something really amazing, like a new Mazda. Lucky, you won't have to wait too long at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Right now, you'll find new stock and demos right across the range, which means there's no compromise. You'll get everything you want and love in your new Mazda. Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
Rain waits for no one, so why should you? FIVEaa tanks are local rainwater tanks built right here in SA. We're not the biggest company, but we can make and deliver your new poly tank within 2 weeks. At the best price, the bigger places could have you waiting a lot longer. Get in touch with FIVEaa tanks. Choose your size, shape and colour, then enjoy free delivery in 2 weeks. Visit apatanks.com.au.
Need a shed strong enough to resist the harsh Australian climate? Visit Olympic Industries, built to last. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
40 seconds away from 9 o'clock. Tomorrow morning on the program, Matt Abraham will join us. We'll also flash back with Michael Smith. Happy birthday to Julia Gillard, who turns 60 today.
Another 6-0.
Another classic case of a person in public life we turfed out far before they became old.
60's the new 40.
60's the new 40? It stuns me.
Isn't that show called Life Begins at 40? That sounds kind of silly these days. 40
If
feels
she's in the
super
US,
young.
she's 15 years away from really making a serious tilt at being the leader of the country.
There you go. She can do it under our constitution as well if she wants.
Well, that's exactly right.
Just whether the ageism that exists
in this country,
the only permissible ism, as we were discussing the other day.
Yeah, we are. It's horrible.
Stupid, isn't it?
It really is. It's ridiculous. Leon Bonner is coming up in just a moment. We'll catch you tomorrow morning from 6.